Alright, as I'm getting started here, we gotta start off with a Pokemon card pack. As I'm booting things up. Shining Revelry. So, I think in the most recent update for Pokemon Pocket TCG, they increased the speed of all the animations. And I think that's really nice. Okay, I got a red, Eradicate, a Palmy, a Licky Licky, and an Iono. The last two of which I already had. Man, this is like the third pack I've opened from this set. How am I already getting duplicates? That puts me up to 17 in Shining Revelry. And, oh, I got a rare pick available. Oh, to go for that Leafeon card. Okay, let's see. The one thing I do not like, the one change I do not like, though, is when you do the Wonder Pick, it reveals before it would reveal the card you got first, and then all the other ones. Now it does it the opposite. It saves your card for last, so if you fucked up the Wonder Pick, you now know instantly. I picked top middle. I got a Snivy. Or a Servine, I mean. Fuck. I'm not getting that of Leafeon. I needed that. Luckily, I already have all those cards. But it would have been nice to, get the fucking Leafeon or the other one. And doing another opening, I got a Cherubi. I need Cherum, its evolution. I don't have the nighttime Cherum. But nope, just Cherubi. Alright, give me a second. Alright, so as we get started here today for the show, we've got our topic of the show here, which is The Legend of Zelda. Last week we pitched a Mario game. The week before we talked about Mario Kart 10. This week we're talking about a Zelda game that, well, who knows? Maybe it exists, maybe it doesn't. And then after that, we got a bunch of news stuff. We have so much news stuff. We got only like 4 stories, but 3 of them are huge. 3 huge stories and a smaller one to knock things off. And then admittedly for WIBE, I don't have much. I got 2 food things, Daredevil, and then hopefully we'll be Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze today. That is the plan at the moment, and I see no reason why we can't do that. So that's it. That's all we're doing today. Should be pretty straightforward. Show's still going to go for like 3 hours, but that's just how it happens. Oh, and also, while I am feeling better than I was last week when I did this, I'm still not great. I still have a cough. I cannot hear out of my right ear at the moment. I can. It's just everything sounds like it's underwater. And it fucking sucks, man. It has been a week. I have been through the ringer this week. And I'm so fucking tired, and I'm not even going to talk about the night terror stuff. So with that, I guess let's just get into it. You not believe how much coughing I had to cut out of the direct. Alright, so last week I pitched a Mario game. And my idea was like, hey, what if Mario travels through time? He goes on an epic journey. This week, I want to pitch a Zelda game. Is this super thought out? No, not really. It's just an idea. But I think it could be fun. I think there's potential here. So yeah, let's do it. So I'm calling it Zelda It Takes Two. What does that mean? Well, right, I have not been playing Split Fiction. I guess I should start off by saying that. I have not been playing Split Fiction, but my parents have. And as a result, I kind of have it on the brain right now. And I've been thinking about it a lot recently, and in combination with, all this Nintendo Direct stuff, and that we're potentially going to see a new Zelda thing next week, whether it's a new game or an Ocarina of Time remake, anything's possible. Even though if I had to bet between everything I just said, Ocarina of Time remake seems the most likely. Because, sure, we could get Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. We didn't this week. But I'm not going to put any money on that. So instead, I've been thinking a lot about Split Fiction. And that gave me the idea, what if we got a Zelda game that was like Split Fiction? Or It Takes Two. I think the idea of a Zelda It Takes Two would be a lot of fun. That sounds like a very fun idea. Now, Zelda has done multiplayer before. There was the original Four Swords on the Game Boy. That was a pack-in with... Originally, it was with Link to the Past. When they re-released Link to the Past on Game Boy Advance, they packed in with Four Swords. And then later on, when the Nintendo DSi came out for Zelda's... It might have been the 20th anniversary, 25th anniversary. Some point during the DSi era, they re-released Four Swords. So those are those two. Then on the GameCube, we had Four Swords Adventures, which was a sequel to Four Swords, fleshed out things a lot more. And then finally, a few years ago on the 3DS, near the end of the 3DS's life, we got Triforce Heroes, which, if Four Swords was 4-player, Triforce Heroes was 3 players. And while Triforce Heroes is maybe potentially the worst Zelda game, if we don't count the CDI ones, which, I don't really... Because I'll say, there are no bad Zelda games if you don't count the CDI ones. But yeah, Triforce Heroes, there's nothing wrong with Triforce Heroes. And it does have this certain level of, self-awareness. Yeah, we're the goofy costume Zelda game, where Link can wear a dress, or Link can, dress as a cheerleader, or he can wear an alligator, Zora suit. It's fun, right? It's goofy, it's dumb, but it's fully aware of that. So for this one, I say, what if we scale it back a lot more, and we just have 2 players? One player plays as Link, and the other plays as Zelda. And we do the whole split screen thing. So on one player screen, you're Link, and you get to travel around, you play as Link normally does in all the other games. And then the other character is Zelda, and they can move freely and independently as Zelda. The screen is split in half, exactly like how you'd expect it to. I'm taking a lot of influence from Joseph Ferris's game, so of course you can have moments where the 2 screens come together. It all depends on what the game designers want to do. But that's the idea. I think instead of just having 2 versions of Link, doing Triforce Buddies or, Sword Bros, 1 player is Link, 1 player is Zelda. And I think that should shake up the way the characters play. Now, for how I want the game to play, I want them to go back to the traditional Zelda style. I know Nintendo's gone full open world recently. Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Echoes of Wisdom, kind of Link Between Worlds. Zelda's been doing this open world stuff recently, and I like that. But I feel like one of the things that makes Joseph Ferris's games work well is that they're constricted. They are linear, because they have a very specific path for you to go on, and, see all sorts of wild and weird things that the interactions allow you to do. And I think that's where you go with this new Zelda. So this whole chart here, this is the chart for Link's Awakening. So if you play Link's Awakening, in theory, you can follow this chart and beat the entire game. This is a linear Zelda game, right? We start off way over here, you work your way down, come back up, work your way down, come out, right, get some stuff over here, work your way down, go back up, work your way down, get over here, continue to work your way down, work your way down over here, and then beat the game. There is a very clear linear progression of items as you go through the game. And I, in my opinion, feel like if you're going to do a Zelda It Takes Two style game, that is the best way to do it. No, oh, well, you can go to, Divine Beast Varuta first, and then you can go to Redania, then you can go to whatever the bird one was called. No, I want Dungeon 1 is always going to be Dungeon 1. I want the game to be a little bit more linear, a little bit more scripted, to play like a traditional Zelda game. Right, that no matter which way you play it, when you get to, say, the Fire Temple, every player is going to be able to get to the Fire Temple at the same point. I know I'm using links between worlds here as part of my example. I don't want it to be open like that. I want it scripted. I want you to pick up items along the way, and as you pick up items, they determine with this new item, this is the new dungeon I can access, this is the new area of the map. And one of the other things I want the items to be dependent on character. So like in this screenshot here, right, you have Link on one side using his sword to solve a puzzle. Meanwhile, Zelda on the other side has the ice rod, and she's using that to solve a puzzle. So the items you get change depending on which character you play as. And maybe you can do some interesting things with that. So maybe you're in a dungeon and Link gets bombs in the dungeon. So Link can, pick up, throw bombs. And then Zelda gets some sort of like gust bellows or, the wind rod from Link Between Worlds. Some sort of wind item. And basically you have to work together where Link is in one spot of the map and he throws a bomb. And then Zelda's in a different spot of the map and she uses the gust bellows to push the bomb forwards. I want the game to be, it's like a traditional Zelda dungeon. There are puzzles to be solved, you have to create mental maps, but you have to work together with a teammate. So you have to combine your powers, you have to work together to solve different dungeon puzzles. That's what I think would be fun. That's kind of why I want them to go back to traditional dungeon style. Go back to traditional item usage. Because, well, yes, I do love the open world feelness of some of these modern games. One of the biggest detriments of modern Zelda is that the dungeon design, well, let's be honest here, it isn't exactly great. I just replayed Echoes of Wisdom last week, and I'll be honest, the dungeons in Echoes of Wisdom really aren't anything that special. Yeah, some of them are a little better than others, some of the ending dungeons have a little bit more variety, but for the most part, they're all very straightforward. They're all kind of generic, and I would love to see them, do a little bit more. Echoes of Wisdom shows a lot of promise for this, because at the end of the game, you as Zelda and an AI Link have to work together to solve this dungeon. Now, admittedly, they don't give the AI Link any, puzzles, because he's stupid AI Link, he's not going to be able to figure them out. But I feel like there's a lot of potential there. And that's why I think this might happen. Nintendo likes to use prior games as testing for their new games. Link Between Worlds, for example, tested out the idea of being able to tackle any dungeon in any order that was then recreated in Breath of the Wild. So if the end of Echoes of Wisdom tested out the idea of hey, what if Link and Zelda worked together on a dungeon, I could see that potentially being the next big thing. I'm just saying. So I feel like giving each player their own items is kind of where it's at. And of course, I want the items to be more unique. Link is usually the more offensive character. So he could, he has the Master Sword, but he'll have bombs, he'll have a hammer, give him the fire rod. Whereas Zelda is the long-range character. She's the mage. I know I'm using the Echoes, the Tri-Rod in here. That's just for visuals. I don't actually want them to bring back the Echo mechanic, because I feel like that breaks things. But, right, Zelda has the bow. Zelda has the wind rod. She gets the ice rod. And she gets... I put the sand thing in here. I mean, she could get the boomerang. She could get anything else. But I feel like it's the intersection between these different weapons that would make things interesting. So you obviously, right, I pointed out the wind bomb thing. Maybe there's your puzzles where you got to shoot a fire rod with Link, an ice rod with Zelda, and maybe if the two of them hit, it creates like a special explosion or something that, you know, that works differently. Maybe with the sand rod and the hammer, you can use the sand rod to create a ball of sand, and then you can use the hammer to like smash it forwards to clear obstacles. Just some way I think all the items should interact and work together just to make the dungeons a little bit more interesting, a little bit more complex. I think that would be fun. So that's my idea. That's basically the core of this. It's just a Zelda game where Link and Zelda play a little bit differently, and it makes you think. It's more of a puzzle game where it requires you to, you know, think outside of the box, work together with someone to solve a dungeon, and, you know, the complexities that may bring. Because there's so much potential here. Admittedly, this is all I've got. This is as far as I took the idea today. But I really like this idea. I think this would be a lot of fun. Sure, would it suck to pretend, you know, because the only reason I haven't played Split Fiction is because I don't have any friends. So would it kind of suck to, you know, have this game and not be able to play it because I don't have any friends? Sure. But people would make it work. So that's my idea. Nintendo, take my idea, make a Zelda game, make Zelda It Takes Two. I think that would be a lot of fun. Or, if you're not willing to do it, hey, Joseph Ferris, I know you usually do bigger budget, more 3D games. But if you need a little smaller thing to work on, hey, there you go. I think you would do a fantastic job at that. Because once is an accident, twice is a coincidence, but 3 times, that's intentional. And Joseph Ferris is on his 4th game. I fully trust Joseph Ferris at this point. If he does a Zelda game, I'm sure he'll knock it out of the park. But that's my idea. You know, it was just something real quick I wanted to throw together. But I thought that would be a little fun. But yeah, that's the end of my Switch 2 series. I know the Switch 2 Direct is next week. And maybe at the very end, I'll do some, like, predictions or something. But for the most part, I've kind of given all my predictions. It was fun to kind of go through this week and highlight a few other things. Just a few ideas I have floating in the back of my head. Do I think any of these last 3 weeks are going to happen? No, except for maybe the Mario Kart thing. I still think the Splatoonification of Mario Kart is going to happen. I think that is very likely between, you know, games like Animal Crossing, Splatoon, Nintendo Switch Sports, 4th example that I just forgot about. I feel like we're getting the Splatoonification of Mario Kart is coming. It's only a matter of when, not if. So yeah. All right, let me pull up Donkey Kong real quick. Give me a second. Do I go get more? No, we'll do that in a little bit. All right. Donkey King. Oh, where are my Donkey King? Alright, give me a second while it's booting up. Oops. I hit the wrong button. I'm changing over the Twitch chat stuff. Alright, there we go. It should be all set. So yeah, let's get into it. So for Donkey Kong today, We have 2 worlds to beat. We got to do World 5 and then World 6. I'm going to guess it's going to take like 2 hours. So that's my hope. If it takes more than that, that's fine. Because we have a lot of things to talk about. So for the news, we got 4 stories. First one, Minecraft Live. Minecraft Live was this week. They're doing 2 a year. They did one in March. We have one big thing, so we're going to talk about that. After that, I want to talk about the Avengers movie. We got the official casting announcement for Avengers Doomsday. And so we're going to look through the list, give some thoughts, give some ideas. We had a surprise Nintendo Direct this week, even though, we kind of knew the Nintendo Direct was coming. Even though I thought it was going to happen back in, February. And I honestly think they could have shown this in February, and we would have lost nothing. Outside of Pokemon, everything else this has no effect on. And finally, Nintendo, they launched their new news app, and they opened up their news app with a big thing. So we're going to talk about that news story. And yeah, that's our 4 big stories. There was a lot of other things that happened this week in the news. It was a very busy week. There were a lot of Switch rumors that I did not write down. We'll talk about 1 or 2 of them, but for the most part, it was a very busy week. Many things happened, and next week's going to be even bigger because, Switch 2 Direct. So it's been a lot. But those are the 4 stories I wanted to highlight. Alright, so Minecraft Live was this week. And so Mojang has completely shifted how they do, Minecraft updates, Minecraft Lives. The mob vote is dead, and I think they even made a joke about it during the show. Whether that's in poor taste or not, I'll leave you to decide. But we got Minecraft Live, and yeah, we got a fair few announcements. One that actually seemed to have made people happy. The big new one that we got here, I have not seen anybody complain about. I'm sure people have complained about it, because Minecraft fans are gluttons who would not be satisfied with all the riches of heaven. They're video game fans. What else is new? But for the most part, everyone I've seen talk about it has had nothing but positive things to say about it. So that's good. I mean, that doesn't happen all that often. So we got that. Shit. And yeah, we got a few other small things in there. Now, that's one feature. The other feature I have seen people complain about. But let's start off at the beginning. So, Mojang no longer does, updates. They now do something called game drops. Does that mean we're not going to get a big update eventually? Big, quote-unquote. I don't know. I hope so. I hope, Mojang says they plan to do, 3 to 4 game drops a year. And I hope that every, 3... Let's just say every, 5... So if they're going to do 3 to 4 a year, I hope every, 5 or 6 game drops, they do a big update that, right now I think we're in, 1.22? We're either in 1.21 or 1.22. I kind of can't remember. But, I know that as far as I know, this new game drop isn't 1.23. But I hope in, I don't know, a year's time we're ramping up to 1.23. I hope that this hasn't replaced, there should still be a big update. That between all these small game drops, every once in a while, we do get a big update. I know, people will bitch and moan about Mojang being lazy. We've talked about that before. I'm not going to go over that again. So let's talk about this first game update. Not the first ever game drop. I think this is the second ever one. But it's called Spring to Life. So what is this game drop? Well, it's got the new fallen leaves and flowers. It's got the new hot and cold mobs. Basically, they took the cow, the pig, and the chicken, and they made new variations on these mobs. We got some new ambience. The desert has brand new ambience. When you're walking on desert blocks, you can hear the ambience. But I like that if you take, like, if you fill your base with, like, sand, it will bring that ambience to your base. I think that's actually really cool. That, well, yes, the ambience exists in the desert. If you want it at your base, you can put it in your base. Of course, there's things like cactus blossoms. I think there's also, like, swamp ambience as well. So they've also added that. We got the firefly bush. After, what, like 3 years ago, Mojang said they weren't going to do fireflies. I made, like, a 30-minute video bitching on it. Like, again, like 3 or 4 years ago now. Nope, Mojang has come back for their redemption. They're adding fireflies into the game. I actually like the way they did it, where it's like this firefly bush. And again, it's more ambient stuff, but that's what fireflies were always supposed to be. So we got that. They've reworked villager trading a little bit. Villagers have some new items they can trade, like maps and whatnot. I'm kind of disappointed that villagers... I still stand by the blacksmith villager should be able to trade a lava bucket. That's... I still stand by that. That's like the one change they do need to rework. Of course, there's tons of other things with villager trading that people don't like. Don't even get me started on the swamp villager thing. And then, of course, this is also the update that redid all the spawn eggs. So we now have new spawn egg art that is, each spawn egg visually is distinct, which I think is a great accessibility thing. Because, yeah, you know, I know some people don't like the new spawn eggs. I think they're fine. And I think it's a lot of people bitching and moaning just because they want to. There's nothing actually wrong with the new spawn eggs. And I do like some of their designs. I do think some of them are cute. But they're more of like an accessibility thing. So that way, at a quick glance, you can know you're getting the right one. I hope they do this change to books. Enchanted books and potions both need this change. I'll stand by... That's a take I had a while ago. I will stand by it. I know that's a lot of work, but hey, you know, Mojang constantly says they're doing stuff, so hey, you know, maybe do it. That'd be cool. And it's also an accessibility thing, so that's nice. So that's the big thing. So that's the new update. That's cool. The update came out March 25th, so it is already out. Admittedly, I have not checked if there are new achievements. Can I actually check that real quick? Minecraft for Nintendo Switch. Oh no, okay. I still have 130 out of 130 achievements. So no, that as far as I know, that has not changed. Okay, so as far as I know, they did not... So no, we will not be streaming Minecraft here in the near future. As far as I can tell, they did not add a new achievement. Which is perfectly fine by me, by the way. Even though, you know, I'd be down to go get some firefly bushes. I'm not too beaten up by it. Next up, they showed a clip from the Minecraft movie. They specifically showed the clip where they first arrive at the village. Oh god, a barrel level. And you know, they see the villagers for the first time. They see the Iron Golem for the first time. I saw a trailer for the Minecraft movie today. Just on TV. Just like on casual, like, background basic cable. That was just Jack Black saying all of his weird Jack Black things. You know, flint and steel, the nether, chicken jockey. That was just, it was like a 15-second ad of just Jack Black giving his Jack Blackisms. And that was an ad for the Minecraft movie. Right? I would say they're self-aware, but God, I'm so worried about this movie. I know it comes out next week. We will talk about it during next week's show. This week's show is busy. Next week's show is going to be equally busy. But yeah, Minecraft movie, I'm still very worried about. So they did that. We saw, so years ago, years and years ago, I want to say at an E3 conference, at one of Microsoft's E3 conferences, Mojang announced what they called the Super Duper Graphics Pack. And it was basically, it's this graphic pack for, I think it was for PC and Bedrock, God, did Bedrock even exist at this time? There's a decent chance Bedrock didn't even exist yet when they announced this. But the idea was that on the Xbox One X, you were going to be able to sit down and play with this super duper graphics pack. It gave the game is ray tracing the word I'm looking for? I don't think so. But it gave the game shaders. Basically, you know stuff that people have been able to do on PC with mods for a decade now. Basically, they were going to add that to the vanilla game. And Mojang announced it at like E3 20... God, I want to say E3 like 2017. No. At one of the E3 like 2017 or 2018, they announced the Super Duper Graphics Pack. And then it just never came out. We didn't hear about it again for like, I want to say like 4 or 5 years later. That we go years without hearing about it, just for Mojang to announce they canceled it. So that, when people talk about why people hate Mojang nowadays, the Super Duper Graphics Pack is one of those things I point to, where it was a promise by Mojang, something mods have been able to do for a decade now. And yet Mojang couldn't get working, and it really pissed people off. Even if it had been like an Xbox Series X exclusive. Like, it only was on the not Series X. Xbox, I think it was the Xbox One X at the time. It might not have been, it was something like that. Even if it had been, like, Xbox exclusive. Hey, this is only on the Xbox version. It's client-side, obviously. I feel like they would have gotten away with it. But the fact that, no, they just didn't do it, it really pissed people off. So now, here we are in the year of our Lord 2025. 15 years after mods have been able to do this. And Mojang has come up with this new thing called Vibrant Visuals. Vibrant Visuals. Ew. And this is your Super Duper Graphics Pack. It's not as super duper as that Super Duper Graphics Pack, obviously. But it has a new lighting engine. So, lights in the world appear as they would in, real life, or at least closer to it. How instead of like the sun being able to light up part of a room, the sun now lights up a room as it would in real life. The effect of the sun works like that. Lighting sources are now very localized to the lighting sources. So, it looks better. Entities have light sources, but I don't know if they give light or not. I don't know, it's got some does this mean the glow squid's actually going to glow? I have no idea. But, you see the skulk biome with it, and, the skulk lights up, and I don't really know how I feel about that. That one's kind of weird, but the rest of it I don't think looks that bad. One of the things I really do like is the shadows. So instead of just, because, light actually matters now, things cast shadows. But they don't just cast shadows. The shadows are pixel accurate. That's a really nice level of detail. They did not have to do that. I don't even like things like Optifine, or, the Optifine shaders. I don't think the Optifine shaders do that. I could be totally wrong. But I don't feel like that's the thing anybody asked for. But actually seeing it, I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, they are definitely bringing this to Bedrock. I'm going to assume this is going to be on the Xbox Series X, probably on the PlayStation version, maybe the Nintendo Switch 2 version. That'd be pretty cool. But so it's definitely coming to Bedrock, but it might be coming to Java. They're not going to confirm. They basically said we're working on bringing it to Java, but they make no promises. So at least they're a little bit more transparent than the Super Duper Graphics Pack. And you may say, why not just bring it to Java? What's stopping them from bringing it to Java when mods can do it? Well, it's kind of complicated. My big takeaway is that Java is just a shitty coding language, And that kind of seems to be holding back Minecraft a lot. That I'm not saying Notch was like Yandere dev levels of coding, but Minecraft Java Edition isn't exactly pretty, to make a long story short. So that's kind of why I feel like Mojang's a little bit more hesitant for Java Edition, whereas Bedrock Edition they have complete control over. So that's my guess on why they're doing it. They're hoping that it's going to be later this year. They didn't give a release date or anything. They just said later this year. So we'll see. I mean, hopefully they hold up their end of the bargain. They didn't last time, so we have zero reason to trust them. But I think Mojang, even though Mojang is still in the middle of a PR crisis that they have been in for years now, it's still, I don't know. So the final thing here is the second game drop of the year. So we got our first one. We're going to get at least one more. And so this new game drop, the first thing they showed of it is the dried ghast. So in the Nether, you're going to be able to go to soul sand biomes. And there's bones in soul sand biomes currently. There's skeletons. Well, you're going to be able to go up to those skeletons and find these little dried ghast. They're a little mob, smaller than a block, and you can mine them, take them back to the overworld, and then in the overworld you can submerge them in water. And I want to say they said it takes like 2 in-game days. So what? That's what? 48 minutes? I want to say a Minecraft day is 24 minutes long, day and night. So it'd take like basically an hour. You know, and eventually the ghast will grow up and it'll become a ghastling. And it's this cute little baby ghast. It's got a little smiley face. It's got a lot of pink in its gills. And hey, it's a friendly ghast. And it doesn't shoot fireballs, but you can feed it snowballs like it's ice cream. Oh, isn't that so cute? And then once it grows up, it becomes the happy ghast. And you're able to craft a ghast harness, and it's got these cute little goggles, and it changes color depending on which wool you use. And so once you make the ghast harness, you'll be able to ride the ghast. Like it's like a little blimp. There is a part of me that's a little disappointed it's not a balloon. Because if you've seen, you know, in the trailers for this new Minecraft movie, you see piglins riding ghasts. But they ride it like a hot air balloon. So there is a part of me that's kind of disappointed the ghast isn't a hot air balloon. But I actually really like this feature. The happy ghast is really cute. Being able to ride on it's great. Especially the fact that you can use it as a platform. Basically, you can stop it, and it'll stop in place, and you can walk on it like it's a platform. Like, you know, instead of having to use, like, scaffolding and whatnot. That's really cool. The fact that you can have 4 players ride on it at once, that's really useful. Of course, the drawback is that it's slow. You know, the elytra, so the positives are it can ride multiple people, and it can be used as a platform. But the drawback is that it's slow, compared to the elytra, which is a lot faster, but can only be used by one person at a time, and can't do the whole block thing. I mean, you can finagle it, but never as well as, you know, this would be able to. So I see the positives and the negatives for both. And yeah, I think this is really neat. I've seen some people be like, oh, you get this too early in the game. Like, you could go straight to the Nether and get this ability to fly. Because I know Mojang behind the scenes has said that the elytra is maybe their biggest regret. Because once they added the elytra, it completely removed the necessity of all other modes of transportation. Like, there's a reason they had to rework the minecart this year. Or last year, I mean. And I still don't know if those changes have been fully implemented yet. Because once you get an elytra, the minecart is useless. Same thing with every other riding method. But I feel like because of how this thing has certain upsides and downsides, this thing is a happy medium. So I kind of get it. I like this. I think it is very cute. We've gotten a little bit of lore from this. You know, I've seen so many fan comics from this Happy Gas, and basically the implication is that, you know, we collect gas tears in the game because, you know, when the ghast is dying, they shed tears for their babies to try to keep their babies alive longer than them. That's why gas tears give regeneration, because the gas dies, giving its life to its baby who dries out. That's actually really fucking sad when you think about it like that. So, like, good on you, Mojang. You know, I've seen so many fan comics, I've seen to that song, like, Beautiful, Beautiful Baby Girl. I've seen so many, like, little edits to that song. People do like this Happy Ghast. They may not be happy with anything else Mojang's doing, but at least just this once, for the first time in a while, people generally agree that Mojang cooked with the Happy Ghast. People like the Happy Ghast. They may not like anything else Mojang's doing, but they like the Happy Ghast. So I guess take it or leave it. There's a few other things in Minecraft Live, like they showed off the Happy Ghast. They showed off like a few, like there's a movie tie-in with the game. You can get a Minecraft Nether Portal cape that has Jack Black's face on it, on the Elytra, so if you want that, that exists now. But that's kind of where we're sitting. And yeah, as Minecraft Live goes, I'll be honest, I never expect anything from Minecraft Live. Like, they have clearly, like, you know, that's not... What you get from a Nintendo Direct and what you get from a Minecraft Live are two very different things. Honestly, the fact that we got the Happy Ghast is kind of victory enough. That, you know, we take our wins where we can get them. So I'll take my win here. And yeah, it was nothing too special, but hey, they did it, so... I'll be honest, I completely forgot Minecraft Live was happening until I remembered it just in time to actually see the whole Happy Ghast reveal live. Other than that, I basically missed the rest of the show. No, I think I came in during the vibrant visuals. Yeah. So next up, we got to talk about the Avengers. So talking about shows I didn't watch. Oh my gosh. So basically, for this reveal, for Avengers Doomsday, Marvel set up a live stream where it was a camera slowly pulling back every like 15 minutes for like 5.5 hours. Just slowly moving from chair to chair, revealing the cast of the new Avengers movie. So they did that for like 5 hours. And there were some people who actually sat there and watched the whole 5 hours. I did not do that. I was at work when it happened. But even still, I did not watch this. Listen, back in 2018, Pokemon did a Nature Cam live stream. That was a 12-hour live stream just to reveal Galarian Ponyta. And Joe Merrick watched the entire 12 hours and said afterwards that he would not wish that upon his worst enemy. So of course I didn't watch this. I learned from the mistakes of the people who came before me. Yes, for people who actually watch this and take this seriously, did this suck? Yes, but you're a victim of your own mistakes. You learn from your ancestors, people. When companies do shit like the second people realized that they were only going to give a new name every 15 minutes, they should have just walked away. Done something else, you know, work on other things, and then every 15 minutes, open Twitter and just see what new thing they showed off. That's what I did, and guess what? I had a perfectly fine experience with this. You know, I didn't suffer through this. Do I think this is an effective marketing campaign? Sure, it got everybody talking about it. The live stream was watched by like millions of people. I want to say they said like 27 million people. Yeah, this worked, but it was definitely... You're a sucker if you watched it. I think it was the escape pod where they started watching it, watched like the first like hour or so, and was like, fuck this, and came back like late near the end. And yeah, I don't blame them at all. You know, they actually they realized what was going on and said, fuck it. And rightfully so. I completely stand behind Hat Guy and the other guy. I may not agree with most of their takes, but, you know, they were completely in the right to do that. Totally justified. So what is the actual cast list? So I've got the cast list here, so let's just, you know, go through it, I guess. Did I organize this in any way? No, of course I didn't. Foolish me. Maybe I should have done that. Because I have everything written down here. Give me 1 second. I should also, I guess, say spoilers. Not for, I mean, for Avengers Doomsday, obviously. But also, weirdly enough, for the Thunderbolts. Which, I wonder if this was a mistake to reveal this right now. Because, you know, they've got a new movie coming out in like a month and a half, probably. And this kind of gave away some of the things from that. So, I don't really know how to feel about that. But okay, so let's start off. One of the first ones that stands out is once again for Paul Rudd as Ant-Man. They used the tiny chair. They had like a, you know, because they're all like cast chairs. But they had a really small one just for Ant-Man. And yeah, that's cute. You know, they've done that before. But it was fun to see that again. And let's just, so I'm going to go over the cast list. We'll talk about the ones missing at the end. But Paul Rudd, okay, you know, I mean, he was definitely involved in the Kang thing, so it'd be kind of weird if he wasn't here, but yeah. Simu Lee as Shang-Chi, you know, that movie was years ago now, and it's just cool we're finally gonna see him as an Avenger. Yes, that's taken long enough. Tom Hiddleston is back as Loki. You know, after his whole thing becoming the God of Stories, there was no way he wasn't in this movie. Like, I saw some people being, like, surprised. But there is a very real chance that Doom is going to take his power. Like, I know Molecule Man and everything. And some of that's probably going to happen. But if instead of Molecule Man, they use Tom Hiddleston's Loki like how they used Molecule Man in the 2016 Secret Wars, that is fully what I expect. Lewis Pullman as the Sentry. That's the, you know, the new guy in the Thunderbolts. You know, stronger than every Avenger combined. We're gonna see how that plays out. Florence Pugh as Yelena. I do like Florence Pugh. I like the character, so yeah. Danny Ramirez as the Falcon. He is coming back. You know, if you saw Falcon in the Winter, or the new Captain America, he got his ass kicked in that one. You know, he took a missile to the head or whatever. But, you know, he made it out alive at the end of the day. And, you know, they basically say he's going to be an Avenger, so that's cool. Sebastian Stan is back as Bucky. Obviously, Thunderbolts. He's a congressman now. Winston Duke as M'Baku. I really like M'Baku. I know in the comics he doesn't really do much, but in the movies he's actually really likable. So I'm kind of glad he's back. Chris Hemsworth as Thor. I know people don't like Thor Love and Thunder, but yeah, it makes sense he's going to be back. I've seen a lot of people say, well, oh, he's back, but the daughter definitely isn't going to be. And I mean, we'll see. I mean, you got to remember, the person who played his daughter in the movie is Chris Hemsworth's real daughter. So, we'll see. Wyatt Russell is back at U.S. Agent. Hey, there's another character who survives the Thunderbolts. Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm. Okay. Makes sense, Doom, Fantastic Four. Letitia Wright is back as Black Panther. Okay, So we're not... I know they set up the next Black Panther, but clearly they're not fully going there yet, so that makes sense. Oh, God, how do you pronounce his name? Tanoke Haruta Maya? The guy who played Namor. I cannot remember how to pronounce his name. But he is coming back as Namor. Obviously, we're going to have to see him in Sue Storm interact. Pedro Pascal is back as Reed Richards. You can't do Doom without Reed, obviously. Hannah John Kamen is back as Ghost. So she's going to survive the Thunderbolts. We've seen all the rest of the Thunderbolts here, except for Taskmaster. I wonder what that means. Okay, Marvel, we all kind of knew that was coming, but still, I not that people care. They hate the character. The movie character. Don't even get me started on the comics. Even though people like the comics, it's a whole different character. That's what I'm saying. Joseph Quinn is back as Johnny Storm. Eben Moss Bacharach is the Thing. Okay, the full cast of Fantastic Four is here. Figures. David Harbour's back as Red Guardian. Another character surviving the onslaught. And then, Anthony Mackie as Captain America. Of course, he's leading the team. They literally set that up in the most recent movie. And then finally, Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom. That was the one casting announcement we already knew. Do I have my reason to be concerned? Yes. None of my fears have been assuaded. A lot of this casting reads as desperation. Like Marvel is desperate. But we haven't actually gotten to those ones yet. Because there's ones I've been saving. So the ones I've been saving, Ian McKellen is back as Magneto. Patrick Stewart is back as Professor X. John Marsden is back as Cyclops. Kelsey Grammer is back as Beast. Rebecca Romijn is back as Mystique. And Alan Cummings is back as Nightcrawler. They're bringing back the Fox X-Men universe. Oh, and Channing Tatum is back as Gambit. So they're bringing back the Fox X-Men universe. And on one hand, this could totally be just, if they're doing Battle World and the Fox X-Men universe is part of Battle World, okay, I get that. I see what they're trying to do there. But there's a part of this that just kind of reeks of desperation. I know they have actually set this up at the end of the Marvels, what year was the Marvels? 2022, 2023? Whatever year the Marvels came out. They brought back Kelsey Grammer as Beast. And in that universe, he's there with Monica Rambeau and Maria Rambeau, who is playing Binary. Now, it is interesting to point out that those two actresses are not on this list. Right? We do not... Whatever... Spectrum? Is that Maria Rambeau? Monica's character? I think Monica is Spectrum and her mom is Binary. Why are these two not on this list? Honestly, there's kind of a lack of... I mean, yes, you do have Florence Pugh, you do have Letitia Wright, you do have Vanessa Kirby. There's a few women here, but almost all of the women characters are gone from this list. Let me pull that up real quick. So who's missing from this list? That's the big question for me. And there are a lot of names, most of them female. So people missing from this list. Elizabeth Olsen. I know I admittedly did not watch Agatha all along, but as far as I know, Elizabeth Scarlet Witch is dead. But I would still love to see her come back, because I do still really like Elizabeth Olsen's character in these movies. So I'm kind of surprised she's not here. That's kind of a big surprise there. No, Evangeline Lilly? The Wasp. The Wasp isn't here. That's you know, you got Ant-Man. None of the Young Avengers are here. You know, they set up the Young Avengers as well. And now, of course, the Young Avengers could be its own movie. It's probably going to be a TV show. But, right, you've got Kamala Khan. You've got Kate Bishop. You've got Cassie Lang. They've clearly set up the Young Avengers. But all those characters missing is weird. Xochitl Gomez as America Chavez, she's missing. Like, that seems like an obvious one. Especially because she's a multiverse character. She can open portals to other realities. I feel like that would be an obvious one. Benedict Cumberbatch is not here. Oscar Isaac as Moon Knight's not here. That's kind of weird. Brie Larson's not here. Aman Vellani, Charlie Cox, Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman. Now, admittedly, some of these I think they're saving for Secret Wars. Because, again, this is just part one. So, like, Tom Holland not being here, I think because he's got a Spider-Man movie that then probably leads into Secret Wars. So that's why I think he's not here. But, like, just based on this cast list, I don't know what this movie's going to be. Like, obviously they're going to have, like, we're going to get 2 minutes with each of the X-Men. But outside of that, I don't know what else we're going to get here. We've got the Thunderbolts. So there's probably going to be 3 teams. The Thunderbolts, or the Dark Avengers, the actual Avengers, and then the X-Men universe. Oh, and I guess 4, because we're going to get the Fantastic Four. So we basically got 4 groups, and we're going to go back and forth between them, kind of like the last, you know, Infinity War, where we had 2 or 3 groups that we went back and forth between. And then slowly over time, the groups merge up. And I'm going to guess this movie's going to end the same way with, you know how, like, you know, Infinity War's big end was the snap. I'm going to guess this movie's going to end with Doctor Doom getting to Loki and stealing his power. And Doctor Doom's going to become the god of stories and basically recreate the entire multiverse. And then, you know, maybe that leads into the new Spider-Man. Maybe that leads into a Young Avengers. Like, honestly, if Marvel won... You know, everyone complains that they went by the blip too quickly. That we were in the blip world for, you know... In the Marvel Universe, it was 5 years. But for us moviegoers, it was what? Captain Marvel, Ant-Man, and the other one. And we were in those for very short periods of time. So if Marvel has decided that, hey, after Doomsday, the next few movies are set on Battleworld, that would actually be pretty cool. I actually wouldn't hate that. I know it's going to be a lot more of the volume, which people hate. But I don't... Setting a movie on Battleworld would be cool. Setting a few movies. You know, we got all that concept art, the Young Avengers on Battleworld, the Hulk, the World of Hulks. I know people fucking hate She-Hulk, but there was this rumor that Tatiana Maslany, the woman who plays She-Hulk, is coming back and she's going to have a big role in Avengers Doomsday, which is why I'm kind of, even though after that rumor, which is probably complete bullshit, I'm kind of surprised not to see her here in this cast list. Is this Marvel probably reacting to the fact that people hated this movie, so now they're, you know, course correcting? Kind of like Star Wars and also the whole Kang Dynasty thing. Yes, this is 100% part of... I don't want to say Doomsday is going to be the next Rise of Skywalker, but if Doomsday becomes the next Rise of Skywalker, I will in no way be surprised. But yeah, that's the cast list so far. Am I worried? Of course I'm worried. You know... Yeah. Yes, have the Russo brothers made good Marvel movies? Yes, they made 4 of them. And since then, they've made nothing but shit. But guess what? They're not the only director who's done that. You know, Taika Waititi made Thor Ragnarok, which no matter what Not Hat Guy says, I do still like that movie. But then he did that, he did Jojo Rabbit, and since then he's made nothing but shit. So, it's complicated. But there's a part of me that, you know, I've been enjoying Daredevil. There's a part of me that hopes they kind of pull this off. But will they? I have no idea. So that's Doomsday cast. Again, I think Secret Wars is going to have even bigger cast. Plus, we still have, like, some Moon... You know, we got a Moon Knight show later this... Or, Ironheart show in, like, a few months. We've got Wonder Man near the end of the year. So there's still so much more shit going on. And there's other characters as well, like Hercules was set up. How is that gonna come back? Is that going to come back? Who fucking knows anymore? Marvel, I would love to see how many loose ends Marvel has set up and how few of them have been paid off. Like, yeah, you know, it only took them from 2020 to it took them 5 years, 2020 to 2025, to pay off the ending of the Eternals. Did Eternals come out in 2020? I can't remember if it came out in 2020 or 2021. I can't remember if COVID delayed it like a year or just into like November. But yeah, it took basically 5 years to pay off that. And there's still a bunch of other shit Marvel's been setting up and paying off. But clearly they're willing to take their time. If they took the ending of 2008's Hulk and only paid it off in 2025, clearly Marvel is willing to take their times on some things. Do I hate the idea that Marvel has set up things that are only getting paid off after Secret Wars? Yes, but literally anything is sadly possible at this point. I don't know, a lot of people are treating this as like the final 2 Marvel movies. If Marvel has their say in that, that's obviously not going to happen. But it hasn't stopped people from treating it like that. Even though for a lot of people, the MCU ended with Endgame. And while I don't think that's it's like The Simpsons, you know? We all agree that the last good season of The Simpsons was 8. That as of Season 9, Episode 2, The Simpsons was bad. But it's not like it was bad overnight. Seasons 9, 10, and even kind of 11 and 12 have some decent, memorable episodes in there. The Simpsons didn't just become bad overnight. And same thing with the MCU. The MCU didn't just become bad overnight. It took some time, but it did happen. Kind of. And you know, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Alright, so we're going to beat this boss. I'm going to go get some more water, and then we'll talk about the Nintendo Direct. I do want to say, so this World 5 of this game is my favorite world. I love the popsicle thing, where you start off the world, they're collecting fruit, they turn the fruit into juice, then they freeze the juice and turn it into popsicles, and then you start off the polar bear boss fight with him eating one of those popsicles. I think that's a really cool gimmick for a world, right? Not just a level, but a world. It's very fun. They get a lot out of it, in my opinion. And then this final boss, this is my favorite boss in the game. This polar bear is so cool. I may have died once, but I still do really like it. I think this attack's really cool. Overall, I really just like this boss. I like this world. This is my favorite part of the game, bar none. This Tropical Freeze is great. Even though, you know, I'm not dying as much, and I played on easy difficulty in both games, so easy difficulty in Tropical Freeze might be easier than easy difficulty in the previous game, Country Returns. But I still do really like what's going on here. And yeah, I do like Tropical Freeze more so far. I mean, we've still got the final world. But so far, no, I've really enjoyed what we've done. And yeah, World 5 is just fantastic. I think this is it. I think this is it. 9. Yeah, there we go. Boom. Off into the sunset. Oh my god. It's so hot. You know, they may be in an ice box, but I'm not. Oh my gosh. I most certainly am not. Alright, we get the barrel, and we're back on Donkey Kong Island. Alright, give me a minute. Alright, let me go get some water, and then I'll be right back. Alright, let me get back in. Give me a second. We've already talked about so much. And yet we've still got an entire Nintendo Direct to talk about. Wow. So I guess let's get into it. So, we had a Nintendo Direct this week. And, you know, we knew we were getting a Switch 2 Direct next week. We knew that was going along. But, like, back in February, a lot of people were like, hey, you know, Nintendo, what if you do a Switch 1 Direct to tell us about all the Switch 1 games coming out this year? So that way, you know, in next month, in April, when you do the Switch 2 Direct, we won't have, right, we'll know what's coming to the Switch 1, so that way, you know, we don't have to worry about that for the Switch 2 people. And that was kind of the hope, or at least there was an idea there. But instead, Nintendo did nothing, and when they did nothing, people kind of speculated, like, oh, well, maybe Nintendo didn't do a Switch 1 Direct because they were worried about, like, oh, it was too close to the Switch 2. That they want all eyes on the Switch 2 Direct, so that's why they're not going to do a Switch 1 Direct, only for them to come in this week, like 6 days before the Switch 2 Direct, and give us a Nintendo Direct. Now, admittedly, we did start hearing rumors about this earlier in the week. Nate the Hate, a few other people came out, and were like, yeah, we're getting a Switch 1 Direct. So yeah, that makes sense. But, you know, there was a chance it was going to be like a mini... You know, at first people were like, oh, is this going to be like a mini Direct or an Indie World? I want to say the first time I heard about the rumor was that this was going to be an Indie World. But no, it's just a full-on Nintendo Direct. Now, do I still hope we get an Indie World? Because usually we do get one in, like, April. Yes. I would love to see an Indie World, Nintendo. It's been a while, and usually we do get one of those in April. Usually near, not at the beginning of April. Usually it's like, it's whatever PAX is, and I want to say that's like April like 25th or whatever. So it'll be around then. But the actual Direct, I think it's like 36 minutes, just Nintendo games, or, you know, just Switch 1 games. They said no mention of Switch 2. And that's the reason why everyone is saying this is the last Switch 1 Direct, because this is going to be the last Direct. Not the last Direct where Nintendo shows off Switch 1 games, but the last Direct where Nintendo has to say there will be no mention of the Switch 2 at this Direct. That's what everybody says when they say last Switch 1 Direct. So what did we actually get? So I've broken this up into 3 categories. First category is the other stuff. Second category is the interesting thing. And then the final category is first-party Nintendo. So that's how I'm going to break it up. So let's talk about the other stuff, you know, the third parties. So, Dragon Quest 1 and 2 Remake. We knew these were announced at, I think, a Nintendo Direct last year, right before Dragon Quest 3 Remake came out. They announced, hey, we're going to do 3 Remake, obviously, but we're also going to do 1 and 2. And the reason they did 3 first is because 3 is actually a prequel to 1 and 2. And that's why, so that way, you know, you play 3, and then you can play 1 and 2, and you get the story in chronological order. At least that's the idea, and I'm sure people aren't mad about that. But yeah, it looks just like what the 3 Remake did. I know some people are excited, not me personally. Not that I hate Dragon Quest, because I like 9. At least I did when I was younger. Haven't played it in a long time. And I actually really like 9. I'm sure, again, not counting Pokemon, if you had asked younger me what my favorite RPG was, I probably would have said Dragon Quest 9. Because that game really impressed me, really surprised me. It's an RPG I actually beat. Which, again, outside of Pokemon, that's kind of rare for me. Especially nowadays. But, okay, so we got that. Next up, we have No Sleep for Konami. It's AI the Somnium Files. So I had heard of AI the Somnium Files before, just not in a while. And so I was I was either reminded of this or learned for the first time these AI, the Somnium File games, are made by the director of 999. If you don't know, 999 was a Nintendo DS game that is critically acclaimed. Like, if you look up, like, lists of best Nintendo DS games, you will almost always find 999 or its sequel, prequel, one of the other games in the series. Because I think it's a trilogy. You will find those games on those lists, because they're pretty beloved DS games. So yeah, I had no idea this was the same director. But that was cool to find out. I don't know, I've heard the other AI Somnium I've heard good things about. I've just never played it. Right, this ain't no D4 or any other wacky shit like that. My list says random remastered, but I know that's not what was supposed to be there. It was Radom? Was that the name of the game? It was an Atlas. There's an Atlas game that I and nobody else except for hardcore Atlas fans had heard of. But it was an Atlas game, and it's getting a remaster. And I guess for the 2 fans of this game, good for you. Hopefully you double your fan base. We got Shadow Labyrinth. This is the Pac-Man Metroidvania that was shown off at the Game Awards. We got some more info about it. We got a better look at it. And yeah, is it weird? Definitely. Pac-Man Metroidvania is a very weird idea. But I don't hate it at all. I'm a little less interested in it now. Because, you know, the concept, like if you say Pac-Man Metroidvania, yeah, you got me stoked. Actually seeing it, it's a little less interesting than that. But, you know, if it reviews well, I will not be surprised. This is one of those games that I could see reviewing really well and people love, or it could review really terribly and, you know, people will forget about it instantly. So I'd wait for reviews on that one. We got a new Story of Seasons game. Admittedly, this might be a PSP? Is that the word not Vita. I think either PS Vita or PSP. This might be a remake of one of those games. But it's you know, Story of Seasons, the original Harvest Moon. I admittedly don't know about how people feel about Story of Seasons nowadays. You know, I know people don't like the new Harvest Moon. Because, you know, all the bullshit surrounding the name stealing and everything. I know people don't like that. But ever since Stardew Valley, you know, you think because of Stardew Valley being so popular, Harvest Moon would be more popular than ever, / specifically Story of Seasons. But no, Story of Seasons, I mean, yeah, they're still getting games, good for them. But I just don't hear anybody talk about these games. All I see people talking about is more Stardew Valley. So that's kind of weird. Oh, I don't know where I cut there. So we got Cursed Disney Villain Cafe, which is very weird. The fact that this is a Disney game. Like, the idea of a villain cafe is not a bad idea for a game. Like, that totally seems like an indie game. But the fact that this is Disney is just so weird and random. But I don't hate it. Like, I don't hate that at all. It's just kind of weird and different. I like that Yzma's here. You know, Yzma's totally... You know, Yzma's never been in a Kingdom Hearts game as far as I know. And so seeing them here, that's cool. You know, I do like that character. But yeah, you know, you've got other Disney villains. You've got Hades, you've got Maleficent, you've got Gaston, you've got Ursula. It's just a very weird game. Not a bad game by any means. It's just kind of weird that this exists. You have Witchbrook. So this is a game made by... It's made by the producer, the developer, not the developer of Stardew Valley, not the developer. This isn't Concerned Ape, but maybe like the producer or the publisher. Somehow they have a connection to Stardew Valley, and they announced this game, which is again, which Stardew Valley, which college Stardew Valley. This game was announced back in like 2017, and we haven't heard anything about it in years at this point. It's been a long time. So this was basically its re-reveal, and yeah, everything we see about it looks good. You know, it doesn't just look like a Stardew Valley ripoff. It definitely, like Stardew Valley with witches. It looks like it's more than that. It looks a little bit more interesting. So yeah, I don't know, I'm kind of down. Do I have time to play a Stardew Valley again? No, or else I would just be playing Stardew Valley. I mean, I can't even find time to play Friends in Mineral Town, so what makes you think I can play Stardew Valley? But no, I'm for the people who like these cozy witch games, oh my gosh, you must be so happy with this. Because this seems right up your alley, it looks good, especially again, after not seeing it since like 2017, it's crazy. The Eternal Life of Goldman? So this is a platformer, kind of remind, like there's like a cane attack in it, which kind of makes me think of like DuckTales or Shovel Knight, but it's got a hand-drawn art style, and it looks really good. For a hand-drawn art style, yeah, no, they pull out all the stops here, it looks good. I think platforming could be fun, you know. I know platformers are kind of an overused genre, but there are some good platformers out there. And yeah, for never having heard of this game before, because this might have been when it was announced, yeah, it's definitely put it on my radar. Gradius Origins. I'll be honest, I don't know if I've ever played a Gradius game before. I'd like to think I have, but I honestly have no idea. But hey, you know, it's a remake of or a port collection of a bunch of classic Gradius games. So I'm sure the people who are excited for that, good for you. Rift of the Necrodancer. It's a rhythm game. I'm not exactly good at those. I am not good at Crypt of the Necrodancer or the Zelda version, which I did try to play and did suck at. But I like the idea of Rift of the Necrodancer. You know, someone's got to keep that Guitar Hero spirit alive. And this one seems, it's very interesting. I swear this is a game that was already out on Switch, but I'm not entirely sure. But hey, it's definitely on Switch now. It's getting Celeste DLC, which is awesome. Celeste has some of the best music in all of video games. So a Celeste DLC is perfect. We're also going to get a Pizza Tower DLC in the future. So I'm sure, you know, if you're excited for that, well, there you go. So that's cool. We got, I swear these things were called Tamagotchis. The little, like, virtual pet that you would take care of, that, you know, you would clean its poop and whatnot, and then it would just inevitably die on you. I swear those were called Tamagotchis. But then in the Direct, they call it Tamagotchis. Maybe that's, like, the correct Japanese pronunciation, and we've all just been using an anglicized version, which is probably what that is. What was the show where she has a Tamagotchi and her friend is taking care of it, and it might have been her girlfriend? And, like, they get in a fight, and, like, you know the fight, I'm not thinking, I know the Owl House has, like, the Image Tamagotchi where they're, like, Amity and Luz are texting each other. That's not what I'm thinking of. It's another show or a movie or something where they have a Tamagotchi. It's not Ruby. It couldn't be Ruby. There would be no Tamagotchis in that. What show am I thinking of? Where she, like, goes AWOL or something, and while the friend's, like, mad at her when she comes back, the friend was actually taking care of her Tamagotchi the whole time and didn't let it die. What fucking show was that? That's not Jim and the Holograms. At least I don't think it's Jim and the Holograms. Because that's not... Because my first thought is Kimber from Jim and the Holograms. And it's, Stormer taking care of it. But no, what fucking... What show is that? Oh my god, this is gonna drive me crazy. There's a show. I'm just gonna look up TV show. I don't think it was an anime. It could have been an anime. Okay, I just have fucking fandom wiki. Ugh. List of Tamagotchi references in shows. Not Yu-Gi-Oh. What was this first category? Books, comics, and manga. It's not The Amazing World of Gumball. It's not Animaniacs. It's not The Big Bang Theory. It might have been Bob's Burger. No. Gene becomes... No, because it wasn't Gene. It wasn't Fanboy Chum Chum. Was it Gravity Falls? Wasn't the... Again, I know the Owl House has a Tamagotchis. Tamagotchis? Wasn't that... Ooh, was it Turning Red? Oh shit, because they get in a fight. Because Mei has a Tamagotchi, and they get in a fight, and at the end they seal the spirit into it. Maybe that might have been it. I think that's it. I think that's what I was thinking of. Because yeah, that's the end of the list. It must have been Turning Red. That's what I was thinking of. Okay, that was going to drive me crazy. Okay, back on subject. We got way off track there. The Tamagotchi Plaza is the game. It kind of looks like a mobile game where you're like, you know how, you know, the Switch has had many ports of mobile games. This just kind of looks like another one of those, like, oh, you know, it may be cute, you know, you're in a plaza that you're slowly building up, but I could care less about it. We got Saga Frontier 2. Okay, that's a thing. We got Monument Valley 1 and 2 are being ported to Switch. I guess these are iOS games. I had heard of these before, but I couldn't think of where. They're iOS games that were originally made for Apple Arcade that are being ported to Switch, and then the third one comes out later this year. Supposedly they're really good. What did I see somebody compare them to? Not Donut County. Oh, did someone... Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. That was it. Somebody compared these to Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. And I like Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. I think it's a super underrated Nintendo puzzle game. So the idea of a new one... You know, I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all. So next up we got Marvel Cosmic Invasion. So this is a new game made by the... Is this the developers? I can't remember if this is the They developed a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game. I want to say this is the developers of the most recent Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle beat-up. I want to say that was Shredder's Revenge. Or, it was one of them. It was some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game. And, you know, people really liked that game. I think it must have been Shredder's Revenge. Either that or they're the ones who worked on the Cowabunga collection. Either way, you know, people like that beat 'em up. And now they're getting a chance to do a Marvel game. And so they're making Marvel Cosmic Invasion. And yeah, people are excited for that because they like those TMNT games. Admittedly, I've never played them, but supposedly it's good. And then, so those are the third-party games. Those are the third-party games. you know, an okay selection. I'll be honest, outside of, like, maybe 3, I can only realistically see myself playing 3 of these. Shadow Labyrinth, if it reviews well, Witchbrook, The Eternal Life of Goldman, and I guess Monument Valley. Sure, let's throw that in. So I guess 4. Honestly, that's not bad. So those are the ones I'm interested in. But the next thing, so leading up to this direct, someone came out, I can't remember if it was Nate the Hate himself, if it was Imran Khan, if it was Jeff Grubb. Someone came out and said that, hey, there's going to be one third-party announcement here that's going to be really interesting that people are going to be excited for. And when I watched the direct, I was kind of waiting for that to happen, and it never did. And then I only realized afterwards, like, oh, they were probably talking about Patapon. And everybody's golf hotshots. That's what they were talking about. So these are traditionally 2 PlayStation games that, you know, are owned by PlayStation that are being published by Bandai Namco on the Switch. And that's kind of crazy. I think they both make good sense. You know, Greg Miller never shuts up about both of these games. Patapon 1 and 2, and Everybody's Golf on the PS4. I know he's a big fan of both of those. I say never shuts up. That's being dramatic. But I think both these games make sense on Switch. As far as I know, this is the first new Everybody Golf since, like, the VR game back for PS1. Now, I confused Everybody's Golf with Hot Shots Golf, but as far as I know, they're the same series. That in Japan, this is kind of like a Earthbound Mother thing, where in Japan, they were called Everybody's Golf, but then in America, they were called Hot Shots Golf, until recently, where they were finally like, no, we're just going to call them all Everybody's Golf. So this one's kind of mixing the 2 names. And yes, PlayStation does have their hands in this one. The game is coming to PC, and it's also coming to PS5. So yes, people, it's strange that this got announced at a Nintendo Direct for a PlayStation game. But yes, PlayStation, I at least know with Everybody's Golf, PlayStation definitely has their hands in this one. I don't know if it's, like, if I didn't check the copyright for Patapon, but I would assume the same thing is true there. I mean, Patapon is literally in Astrobot. Not that that means everything, but yeah. So that's kind of the big reveal there, you know, us getting getting 2 PlayStation games on Nintendo Switch. That's actually kind of a big deal. That actually does kind of matter. You know, and the fact that they're coming to PC and PS5, but not Xbox. For years now, Xbox has said that they do not think of Nintendo as competition. That when it comes to the console wars, which Xbox themselves have tried to distance themselves out of the console wars, but when it comes to the console wars, it's Xbox and PlayStation. Nintendo just kind of does their own thing, and Xbox is like, oh yeah, you know, we'll put our games on Nintendo, and they've put a bunch of games on Nintendo. I mean, Cuphead, Ori and the Blind Forest, and its sequel. Third example, I know Banjo-Kazooie's on Xbox, as is GoldenEye, or on Nintendo Switch, I mean. There's a bunch of them. But yeah, Xbox has been cozy with Nintendo for a while now. You know, I know Xbox is getting cozy with PlayStation now as well, but it's interesting to see PlayStation, because this is the 3rd PlayStation game on Switch. Because Lego Horizons was also on Switch. And you know what that means? Once is an accident, twice is a coincidence, but 3 times is on purpose. That means something. Alright, real quick. With that level we just played, while I hate the rocket level, I hated the rocket levels in the original DK. Ending with that snowball was so cool. I really liked the ending of that level. God, this game just has so much in it. Man, I really do like this game. Playing a great world, and that was a great level. I know I died a few times there, like 3, but still, that was a great level. Okay, so on to the actual Nintendo stuff in the Direct. First off, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. So I want to say right off the bat, the fact that Metroid Prime 4 is here and not at the Switch Direct next week, the Switch 2 Direct, makes me think that we are not going to see this game next week. Metroid Prime 4, a lot of people want this to be the Switch 2's launch title. That, you know, on this and Mario Kart both come out at the same time, or, you know, maybe a month apart. That, you know, Metroid is for Switch 1 and Switch 2 owners, and Mario Kart is just for Switch 2. And while I've never agreed with that take, I've never been completely against it. Like, I see the possibility. But the fact that we got this here, I now firmly believe that that's not going to be the case. If that was going to be the case, I would have thought they would have held this until next week. But the fact that they showed it off here makes me think that no. Because there had been a rumor earlier in the week that Metroid Prime 4 is not going to be at the Switch 2 Direct. So the fact that we saw it here, I don't think it's going to be at the Switch 2 Direct. Doesn't mean it might show up in like a sizzle reel or something. But I don't think we're going to get much more of it than that. We could have got, I mean, if it's a day-and-day launch, if it's a launch day game, then that's why they didn't give us the release date today. Because you would have thought they would have done that. So that's like the one thing that I could kind of see. But other than that, I don't see this as a Switch 2 game anymore. I'm not going to say they like blew the bucket or anything like that. It's still possible, but I think it's a lot less likely now. But what we actually see of Metroid Prime 4, I think it looks good. Samus has these new psychic powers that for some reason remind me of Witch Time in Bayonetta. I think it's all the purple that they're using and like how it like slows things down. But there's some really cool stuff there. I like that when she shoots, the bullet, like, you know, you get to control the bullet. And yeah, it goes into like Witch Time. You can see her moving stuff with her hand and it like opens doors. I hope it's a little faster than they showed in the trailer. Because in the trailer, it kind of feels really slow. So I hope that was just like the trailer doing trailer stuff. And that in the actual game, it's a little faster. But I think the psychic abilities are cool. I think the new enemies are cool. I do like seeing some of those new enemies. They look interesting. The new world. Yeah, you know, this feels like an extension of Metroid Prime Remastered. They took Metroid Prime Remastered and just, like, extended it, right? It's not the most beautiful looking game in the world, but it's also not terrible looking either. I think it is a perfectly suitable game. I didn't need this to be the most visually beautiful game. What matters is it fun. And the fact that they just didn't outright cancel it makes me hope that it's at least somewhat fun. I think the psychic powers being an evolution, it really does feel like that. So I think that's good. But yeah, everything we saw here, I liked. I'm not blown away, admittedly, but I don't think any of it's bad by any means. So that was interesting to see. It wasn't grabbing there. Alright, so next up we saw Pokemon. So we already saw some of Legends ZA in Pokemon Direct like a month ago. But we got to see some more of it, specifically why the game is called ZA. Basically, they say that the game is in 2 phases, a day phase and a night phase. And during the night phase, you enter the ZA Royale, a tournament where you start at the Z rank and slowly move your rank up to A rank. You know, think of like the Hero Association from One Punch Man. You know, you're slowly moving up the ranks until when you become A rank, you'll have your wish granted. And I love the wish example they use in the trailer of the guy who wants to outlaw cars so that way people will only drive taxis. And I've already seen people react like, that guy is the devil. Like, he is just the devil in disguise. which is very funny. But I think the nighttime tournament, that's the dimension of the game we've been missing. Is this nighttime tournament, you know, we see that you can sneak up on players. So that way, you know, if you want to, like, surprise... You know, in the way, like, a player spots you in a Pokemon game and you're challenged to a battle, now you're the one who can do the spotting and surprise battle them. That's kind of cool, actually. I like that. But, you know, surprise attacks will give you an advantage in battle. And, you know, levels are presumably going to scale. The higher level you are, the harder they're going to be. It's, you know, it's a battle royale. But not like Fortnite. More like, I don't know, like the tournaments in Punch Club. I only say that because I've been playing Punch Club. Which I forgot to put on the docket. I should put that on the docket. And we'll talk about that more next week. But yeah, everything we saw there, it looks good. I still, you know, I feel like this is because the last trailer ended at like this weird note of like the ZA thing, and I was kind of confused what was going on there. The way they explained it now... Okay, for some reason it just was not grabbing on, and I do not know why. The way they explained it in this trailer, I'm a lot more interested now. It would have been cool to see a new Mega Evolution, but hey, we have the Nintendo Today app, and if they want to recreate the Super Smash Bros. Character reveals, yeah, with Mega Evolutions, that'd be pretty cool. I'm just saying. I actually don't know if Pokemon is an option on Nintendo Today. I should go look into that. Okay, so next up, they showed off Rhythm Heaven Groove. This is the first Rhythm Heaven game in over a decade. It's been a long time. And I know some people are asking, like, why has it been so long since the last Rhythm Heaven? And now, of course, people's first response is that, oh, it's been so long because the last game didn't sell that well, Rhythm Heaven Fever. And that might be part of it, but the other complication... So this is a tweet directly pulled from Imran Khan on Blue Sky. So, okay, I'm quoting. So, if people did not know, the series was on ice for so long because the composer, Sunku, was diagnosed with laryngeal cancer in 2014 and had to have part of his vocal cords removed. That they made note of him coming back for this one is actually kind of a big deal. So yeah, the composer of Rhythm Heaven had throat cancer, had to have a vocal cord removed, but they are coming back for this game. So I think that actually does kind of explain a lot, and I'm really glad they are coming back. I hope they make, right, this their magnum opus. Because I know this is coming off in the Switch one. You know, if this was a 3DS game, I'd be a lot more worried. But the fact that Switch 2 is going to be able to play Switch 1 games, there is a high likely chance that this is going to be the best-selling Rhythm Heaven game ever. And you know what? If they want to take until 2026 to make the best thing possible, take all the time you need. And let's just pretend that statement applies to the next game we're going to talk about as well. I know Rhythm Heaven fans, you know, it's been a long time. 2014 was very long ago. But you've waited over 10 years. You can wait another year. I know it sucks, but it makes sense. I get it. I get it now. But so that's why Rhythm Heaven is the way it is. But what we see of Rhythm Heaven, this looks just like a Rhythm Heaven game. I don't know if this is the best introduction to it, right? With the whole, they kind of take it a little bit slower, spend more of their time explaining Rhythm Heaven, but I don't think it's a bad thing. And yeah, I'm actually excited to play a Rhythm Heaven game. I know I have my deals. You know, I held up my bargain on Advanced Wars. I'll hold up my bargain for Rhythm Heaven, and if we ever get another Golden Song, I'll hold up my bargain there. But even without that being said, there's a part of me that is actually excited. I've watched enough Rhythm Heaven speedrunning to actually be interested in this one. Even if I'm going to be awful at it. Because I ain't got rhythm. You know, you fall asleep in a metronome factory one time, and it just ruins everything. Listen, I had a choice in life. I could either learn rocket science or I could learn music theory. And I learned rocket science. And as a result, I can't even play a recorder. That's actually, like, half true. And then our final game, the one I named the stream after, Tomodachi Life, Living the Dream. So the original Tomodachi Life, I never played because that was a Japan-only game. But the second Tomodachi Life, the second game, Tomodachi Life, I played on 3DS. I originally picked it up because of Game Explains. Even though I am a Vinesauce fan, or at least I was during the time the game released, I actually didn't pick it up because of Vinesauce. No, I want to say, it was either Andre or Derek did a series in Tomodachi Life where they did like basically a daily like Tomodachi Life vlog, and I was so entertained by that theory that I actually picked up the game. It had nothing to do with Venny, which is very weird because his series is, like, in hindsight, his series is probably so much better, but I don't know, I guess that was just kind of how it played out at the time. And yeah, I've never regretted buying Tomodachi Life. It's very, like, if you've played, like, on the road between Animal Crossing and The Sims, Tomodachi Life is more like The Sims, but imagine The Sims if you had less control. Like, yeah, you know, you could create your person, you could, you know, give them a house or whatever, in Tomodachi Life it was an apartment. But instead of, like, you could pick, like, their personality, but what they do with their personality, their hopes, their dreams, their desires, their favorite food. In The Sims, you kind of have control over some of that stuff. Not here. In Tomodachi Life, you know, they form relationships on their own. They kind of do their own thing. Sure, you can take influence over their lives, but they don't solely rely on you. They are independent little villagers. And the game's just fucking weird, man. It's got a very Japanese sense of weird to it. You know, it's comedy, obviously, but it is so entertaining. My favorite bit was always the musical stuff. Seeing the custom musicals people made were so much fun back in the day. I'm glad. So one of my worries with a new Tomodachi Life was that they were going to update the AI voices. So Tomodachi Life doesn't use voice actors, but instead has AI do the voice. And now I know nowadays AI is big, scary, especially in the video game industry where it's replacing voice actors. But Tomodachi Life, like, the AI is very clearly, like, kind of robotic. And I feel like that's half the charm. That, like, these are computer programs. And while, yes, dialogue is written, they're still very clearly computers. And the game doesn't really try to hide that. And I'm kind of glad they didn't hide that here. Like, yeah. Hey, we just climbed the Celeste Mountain. Like, yeah. Could they have used, you know, a better AI, you know, one of the modern ones that actually sounds like a real person? Yeah, they probably could have used that. But I feel like that would have taken away some of the charm of the original Tomodachi Life. So I'm glad they're using the same old school AI voice. I'm sure it is a little better. Like, I'm sure it's refined, you know, it's one of the newer versions. Kind of like, you know how like Stephen Hawking, he had his robot voice, and over the years they made him offers to like give him a better version, but he always kind of stuck with the classic one. That's kind of what it is here, right? Like they could give them these better voices, but the classic one is a classic for that reason. And yeah, the game still looks weird, but it looks fun, it looks creative. I am excited for a new Tomodachi Life. Of course, the question is now, will Nintendo hold up their bargain and make the game gay? Because, okay, quick history lesson if you don't remember, back in 2015, 2014, when Tomodachi Life released on the 3DS. Well, first the game released in Japan. And when Tomodachi Life released in Japan, there was a bug by Nintendo's classification that allowed couples to do same-sex marriage. So a man could get married to a man, a woman could get married to a woman. But Nintendo considered that a bug. And when they brought the game to the US, they removed that same-sex marriage bug. And that really pissed people off. And now, don't quote me on this, but I want to say at the time, when people originally called Nintendo out for removing same-sex marriage, they actually doubled down and said that, oh, that was just a bug, we don't want that, we don't want to bring politics into this or whatever. I want to say Nintendo's original response was to double down, but eventually they did make a statement saying that, no, we apologize, we didn't mean to offend anybody, and they said that in the future, they will be better. When it comes to, same-sex relationships and whatnot, they will do better in the future. And they said that on the next Tomodachi Life, they will, they'll do better. And, I know some people would be, worried about stuff like this, but actually, since then, when it comes to same-sex relationships and, gender and whatnot, Nintendo's actually been pretty good. Yes. So when Nintendo first got called out for this, their first attempt at addressing this was they added a gay character to Fire Emblem. If you have ever played Fire Emblem Fates, you know exactly what I'm talking about and how bad they fucked that one up. So they had to issue multiple apologies for Fire Emblem Fates, but one of them was how bad they fucked up the gay character, and they promised to be better in the future. And as far as I'm aware, the Fire Emblem games have since featured gay characters, and people actually do like those. So as far as I know, Nintendo did actually, they said they'd do better, and they've done better with Fire Emblem. But even in other games, both, obviously, for a lot of things, Nintendo has taken, a Bert and Ernie approach to gay characters, where it's if you read between the lines, this character's obviously gay, but if you don't, they're just, they're just close friends. They're roommates. They're buddies. Anything but lovers, because history hates lovers. So you have characters like Flick and CJ, Pearl and Marina, who are very clearly gay, but, because of Nintendo being Nintendo, they only ever use partner as the term. So that's kind of complicating things, but, there are a few. I would say that's better than what they were doing before. And then, of course, there's characters like Vivian, who was originally transgender, then had that taken away, and then given back to them. There's, what's the other one? I know there's another reference of lesbians in Animal Crossing. There's a princess, an explosion princess thing. I'm sure there's a few other examples I can't think of. At least I'd hope there are. But yes, I have full faith that Nintendo will allow same-sex marriage in Tomodachi Life. Hopefully they do, go the Stardew Valley route. If you have a straight marriage, you can have kids, you can have grandkids, all that. But if you have a homosexual relationship, you can do adoption. Stardew Valley figured this out perfectly, and they figured that out in 2016. So literally, you just have to do that, and everybody would love it. But no, I've seen a lot of people take that bit at the end of the trailer where you have, the one girl approach the other one and she's giant. A lot of people have been like, is this a metaphor for she was thinking about the other girl? Is this kind of them hinting that gay marriage is going to be a thing? I think it is going to be regardless. Either that or they're going to completely take marriage out of Tomodachi Life, which I don't think they will because kids are a whole mechanic in that game. So one of the things I like about the final world of this game is in most games, ice worlds, at least Mario games, ice worlds tend to be the third world. But Donkey Kong is no, ice worlds suck. We're going to make that our final world. But now we've got this level, which is going to be a lava level. It's called Meltdown for a reason. But no, I think, because people hate ice worlds. So making an ice world your final world actually makes perfect sense. And hey, we're getting lava on top of that. So So, Tomodachi Life, everything about it seems good. They have definitely updated the Miis a little bit. I don't know if it's full-on Mii Maker from Miitopia, but it at least has some updates. Like, the Miis have ears now. This is definitely... the Tomodachi trailer is one I definitely want to look over a little bit more. Because we definitely see, like, shops and whatnot in the background. It looks like instead of an apartment building, each Mii will have their own house. Which isn't a terrible idea, especially if we get some more, like, customization. But yeah, no, everything we see of new Tomodachi Life, I am excited for. My one problem is 2026. The 2026 release date, that sucks. I would have loved this game this year. That makes me wonder, are we getting an Animal Crossing this year? Because I could see Nintendo being like, well, we don't want to release a Tomodachi Life and an Animal Crossing in the same year. Because they kind of compete with each other, even though Animal Crossing will blow Tomodachi Life out of the water. But I could see that argument, especially from Nintendo, who thinks everything... Nintendo, the company that thinks that 30-year-old games compete with games that release this year, would totally think two kind of similar simulation games compete with each other. Totally. That's a very Nintendo move. But yeah, it sucks to see 2026, but I'm so excited for it, and I'm glad the rest of the internet's on my side here. You know, I know a lot of people wanted Tomodachi Life, but the big takeaway I've seen from watching people's reactions to these directs are they are excited for Rhythm Heaven, and they are excited for Tomodachi Life. And you know what? I'll take both of that. I'll take that as a win. If people are excited for both those games, then that is good, because they definitely... both those games deserve a healthy level of excitement, because they are both good games. At least they're good franchises, and I don't want to see them dead. So that was the Direct. Well, there's two other things, but my thoughts on the Direct with all the game stuff. I would say it's like, I'm gonna say it's a 7 out of 10. Mainly because it gave us a Rhythm Heaven, and it gave us a Tomodachi Life. I did not expect much from this Direct. I expected absolutely nothing. So to get two games that I am genuinely interested in, that is a win in my book. I will take it. Tomodachi, yes. Let's go. So that's the only reason I say a 7 for, you know, coming in with low expectations and being exceeded is the 2026. If both those games, or even just one of those games, was coming out this year, I'd be singing a different... I'd probably give it like an 8, maybe even a 9. But the fact that both of them are coming out next year, the other two games we saw, Pokemon and Metroid, don't have release dates, that doesn't help either. So yeah, I'm going to say 7, but that's a generous 7, because I am genuinely really excited about those two games. That's why I say 7. Everything else was just kind of whatever, but those two games really sell it for me. And hey, you know, there was some decent stuff in the non-first party segment. This is the most lives I've lost on any level in this game. So, before we move on from the Direct, we got two more things. The first one is Nintendo revealed their new system called Virtual Game Cards. And what the fuck this means, I'll be honest, I'm still kind of unsure. I have several questions, and Nintendo so far has provided no answers. But basically, they're going to start treating digital games like they were game cards. Now, this leaves me with several questions. Because, the example I used on stream, or in my reaction, was that in, you know, most Nintendo, when I want to play Splatoon 3, I have the game loaded on my original Switch and on my OLED. My launch day and my OLED. And right now, as long as I don't play both at the same time, I can easily switch back and forth between playing on those two systems. Yes, they do both have to be connected to the internet. But other than that, you know, there's no issues. And of course, you know, technically, actually, so Switch does a thing where you have a Switch which is your home Switch. which is like, hey, this is my primary system, and if I want to play... whatever. If I want to play a game, like let's say let's say my power died, which it actually did last week. I don't think I talked about it, but after we finished streaming part 1 of Zelda, my power actually died. And it was off for like 3 hours that day. But, so let's say my power died, but I still wanted to play, let's say Shovel Knight, because that's a digital game. I cannot play it on my new Switch, because that needs a connection to the internet, but I can play it on my old Switch, because that's counted as my primary system. So in theory, does this new virtual game card thing remove that system? That basically hey, I've got the virtual game card is on my new Switch, so that one wouldn't need an online connection, but then if I remove the virtual game card to my old Switch, now that one doesn't need an online connection. Is that what this means? Because if that's what this means, that's okay. As long as it is easy to transfer. As long as I am easily able to transfer between the two systems, then I don't think that'll be as much of an issue. I saw someone, it might have even been Andy Cortez, basically say that this is just Nintendo trying to sell DRM to people. And I mean, yeah, that kind of is what this is. But I don't know, there's a level of confusion here, because they basically had to explain how game cartridges work, and that was kind of weird. But, I don't know, this has potential, but I'm kind of worried. The one neat thing is, like, lending out games. So you can lend out games to people for 14 days. I do wonder kind of how some of that stuff's going to work. But, like, for example, you know, my mother's been playing games more recently. And luckily, every game she has played so far, I have had a physical version of. So I can just give her my physical version. But now, in theory, with these digital game cards, for any digital games I own, she can just borrow my copy. Like, let's say she wanted to play Pikmin 1 and 2. I bought Pikmin 1 and 2 digitally, so if she wants to play Pikmin 1 and 2, I could just lend her my game cartridge, and that's how she could play it. Or, like, my digital game cartridge, I mean, yeah. Whereas Pikmin 3 and 4, I have physical game cartridges for. So I think that's kind of how it works. And while, yeah, 14 days at a time, you know, just renew it every other Sunday family dinner. That seems easy enough. As long as you're presumably able to do that. Yeah. I don't know, it just depends on how much work it's going to take. So here we are, final boss. We'll see. I've still got a bunch of stuff left to talk about, but I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be fine. So yeah, that's the first thing. I'm still kind of confused. However, the one thing we did get from this, on Nintendo's website, they confirmed that the Switch will have Nintendo Switch 2 editions of games. There's been a lot of speculation about, like, are Nintendo Switch 1 games going to be getting an upgrade? And the fact that this sounds like this makes me think that, yes, certain games, like Breath of the Wild, will have a Switch 2 upgrade. And let's say you buy the Switch 2 upgraded Breath of the Wild, you will not be able to transfer that back to Switch 1. And of course, the same transfer system will work on Switch 2, which is good. So yeah, you know, that's an interesting detail to get from this. But yeah, I'm a little worried about things, but we'll see how it all turns out. The final thing from this Nintendo Direct that I want to talk about, the thing they brought out Miyamoto to talk about for like 10 seconds, is Nintendo Today. So I don't know if you've been looking at Twitter recently, but Twitter is kind of filled with Nazis, including the guy who fucking owns the website. So I don't blame Nintendo for trying to get away from Twitter. I don't blame them at all. Right, and I know earlier in the year Nintendo stopped allowing the Switch to post on Twitter, but yeah, I don't blame Nintendo for trying to get away from Twitter, because Twitter is where they primarily announce things. But now they've created their own new Nintendo News app, where this is going to be the first place they post things. So instead of posting it on Twitter, they're going to post it on Nintendo Today. Now, of course, does that mean that everybody else is going to just immediately post it on Twitter? Yes. The announcement for today that we'll talk about here in a second, it was posted on Nintendo Today, and then immediately everybody just reposted it to Twitter, which is where I found out about it, because I saw Wario64 tweet about it. So yeah, but I get that. I understand Nintendo wanting to get away from Twitter. And this is basically, Nintendo's done this before. On the Wii, there was the Nintendo News channel, where every week you could open up the Nintendo News channel, and there'd be new updates on games, new information. I disagree. I don't think the Nintendo Direct was that bad. And hey, it's nice to see you. I don't think it was that bad. For a Direct I expected nothing from, I got Tomodachi Life, I got Rhythm Heaven. That is more than I could have asked for. Assuming next week's Direct is good. Oh, I think Pokemon looks fine. Assuming next week's Direct is good, if next week's Direct sucks, then yeah, this does not help. But the fact that next week, Nintendo's saving everything for next week, hopefully, yeah. But we don't even need 10 Gen. This isn't Gen 10, though. This is like 9.5? But no, so Nintendo Today... So, I did download the Nintendo Today app. One of the things I do like about it... So, it's a calendar, right? It's a calendar. It tells you about upcoming Nintendo events. I don't know if it does notifications. Like, I don't know if, if there's a new update, it'll send, a push notification to your phone. I admittedly don't know if it does that. But, so it has notifications, and it'll be like, hey, there's a Nintendo Direct today. Hey, there's a Nintendo Direct next week, and we'll mark it on your calendar. You can set the calendar to different themes. So there's Mario, there's Pikmin, there's Zelda. Let me see. What are the themes? So there is a Mario theme, a Zelda theme, an Animal Crossing theme, a Splatoon theme, and a Pikmin theme. That just tells you, I always talk about Nintendo's 4 biggest franchises. Super Mario, Zelda, Animal Crossing, and Splatoon. Nintendo big 4, they're all there, and Pikmin is here as well. You know what I realized also? These are the same themes as Nintendo Alarmo. Admittedly, Animal Crossing's not on Alarmo, but other than that, they're all there. The only good games was Tomodachi Life, High on Life coming to Switch, and the Marvel game looked decent. The Metroid game looked okay. Besides that, it wasn't very good. See, I think, okay, High on Life I've already played, so I don't care about that one. But honestly, everything else there, that's still a pretty decent Direct. Tomodachi Life looks great. That Marvel game, yeah, the people who made the TMNT game, which people liked. And then Metroid looks decent. For the last Switch 1 Direct, a console that dies this year, that's not bad. And especially because every game we saw is going to be playable on Switch 2. Maybe my expectations were just so low that I expected nothing. But yeah, for having 0 expectations, walking away with just that plus Rhythm Heaven, I'll take that. That's all pretty good to me. So yeah. So Nintendo Today, so I can open up the Nintendo Today calendar. And they showed the new thing that was announced today. But one of the things that they didn't say was going to be here that I do like is on the calendar, they put in-game events. So you can see what's happening in the games you play. What I mean by that, we got Tomodachi Life before GTA 6. I'm actually going to be curious. Which one's going to come out first? Because I still stand by GTA 6 is getting delayed. So there is a non-zero chance that Tomodachi Life comes out before GTA 6. Most likely GTA 6 comes out first, but I still think that game's getting delayed. Mark my words, that's going to be delayed. So what I like about Nintendo Today is that I can see in-game events for Splatoon, for Pokemon, So, like, if I click on today, the 28th, it says that, hey, there's an event in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet where you can fight Mega Tyranitar. And presumably events like when they announce the next shiny event, that'll be in the app. And it also tells you about the Splatoon challenges. I've complained in the past about Splatoon's challenges and how there's really no good way to know like when they happen or what's going on. But the fact that the app will tell me like, hey, today is the Splatoon monthly challenge. Hey, guess what? Next week on April 3rd, there's another Splatoon challenge. Admittedly, it doesn't tell me what that challenge is other than the name. But the fact that Nintendo has actually gone in and notified, like, hey, these are the events coming up in the game. For Animal Crossing, it says, like, hey, April 1st, that's the first day of the cherry blossom season. Hey, April 12th, that's a fishing tournament in Animal Crossing. I actually think that's a really cool feature. The fact that it tells me what's happening in the games I play, and presumably this will work with, like, Mario Kart. Like, Mario Kart will presumably have, like, in-game events or tournaments, and those will be marked on the calendar in the Nintendo Today app. I actually think that's a really cool feature. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but having that all that information in one place to know like, oh, you know, hey, there's an event going on in Splatoon today. Does it have the Splatfest on it? As far as I can tell, it does not have the Splatfest on it, so maybe they should add that. But outside of that, I actually do like that. Having these little notifications on games, yeah, just add the Splatfest, Nintendo. Why does it not have the Splatfest is on the 12th. It has the Animal Crossing fishing tournament, and it's got Bunny Day preparations for the 13th. Add the Splatfest, Nintendo. What are you doing? But yeah, other than that, so that's the Nintendo Today app. Do I think this is going to last forever? No. This is definitely like a, you know, Nintendo's going to stop using Twitter, or maybe they're only going to post third-party stuff on Twitter. But for all their primary announcements, they're going to post it on Nintendo Today. Presumably Nintendo Today, right? Presumably, you know how back in the day for Smash Bros, both Brawl in the Wii U version, Sakurai would actually do a developer diary where every day he would post like, hey, here's a little update about Smash Bros. That was the Nintendo Today app was announced at the very end of the Direct, after Tomodachi Life. It was the last thing they talked about. So Smash Bros. Masahiro Sakurai did a developer diary, and you could like open the developer diary, and every day there would be something new. Maybe it would be like a new stage, or a new item, or a returning item. Every once in a while it would be a new character. I could totally see Nintendo doing something like that for like Mario Kart. Like, hey, every day you open up the Nintendo Today app and it shows you maybe a new screenshot from Mario Kart. Or maybe every week or two they reveal a new character coming to Mario Kart 10. Or hey, every once in a while they show off a new item or a new stage or a new course, I mean. I think that would be really cool. Trying to recreate that Super Smash Bros. Momentum, but in Nintendo's own controlled ecosystem, that makes sense. And especially with everybody hoping that they're going to be bringing back Miiverse, I think it's possible. Nintendo's got an alarm clock, they've got a news app. I think Nintendo might be making a new chat app. Because if they don't want people chatting about their game on Twitter, I think it's totally possible that they make a new chat app where you can chat with other Nintendo Switch owners and you can post screenshots on your Nintendo Switch 2. Especially because now, with the Nintendo Switch 2, you can take screenshots. You can't post them directly to Twitter anymore. You might still be able to post them to Facebook, but who the fuck uses Facebook? I didn't finish the Direct. It was a few minutes left because I watched it in my 7th period and we left 10 minutes early because of the color card to go to the stage. Yeah, you know, I would not at all be surprised if the Switch 2 had Nintendo Discord integration. Would I prefer just to have normal Discord integration? Yes. But I could see Nintendo making Nintendo Discord. I mean, they've already done it once. They did it on the Wii U in the 3DS. They had Miiverse. I could see them bringing back Miiverse. They're going to call it something different, obviously. But I could totally see them bringing back... I actually, you know, when people said they should bring back Miiverse, I was like, that's not going to happen. Thinking about it now, I think it's more likely than ever. So, the Switch app came out yesterday. This Nintendo Today. And so, of course, with it being the first day out, Nintendo had to I'm not going to download a Nintendo Discord. I'll see what Discord. And I'm sure a lot of people will, but not everybody. So, Nintendo made a new app. And with a new app, you know, it's like, hey, we're going to have new Nintendo news every day. So, obviously, they had to start with something big. So, the first new announcement on Nintendo Today is we got a release date for the Legend of Zelda movie. I don't know if people had forgotten, but Sony is making a Legend of Zelda movie, and it now has a release date of March 26th, 2027. So that's 2 years. It's basically 2 years away from 2 days ago. So we now have the official release date. Nintendo just announced that. Same with Nintendo Music. Why download that when you have YouTube? Well, Nintendo's copyright striking all those YouTube videos. That's why. I hate the insta-kill in this boss. I don't think this boss is terrible, but God, I hate that insta-kill. And yeah, don't even get me started on Nintendo Music. The whole Kirby and the Forgotten Lands thing this week was fucking bullshit. I don't know why they did that. Oh my God, don't even get me started on Nintendo Music. You know, Nintendo and their little ducky that does whatever they say. But yeah, so we got Zelda movie. Interestingly enough, that release date, March 26, 2027, that release date, March 26, 2027, is 7 days after Sonic the Hedgehog 4 releases. Currently, Sonic the Hedgehog 4 is scheduled to release March 19th, 2027. So we might see Zelda in... You know, people always talk about Mario and Sonic competing against each other. We might see Sonic and Zelda compete against each other. That's okay. That's kind of crazy. Do I think it's possible that one of those movies' release dates gets changed? Yes. Do I think it is 100% going to be Zelda? Yes. Because Sonic has not... I mean, outside of the original movie changing their release date, they haven't changed any of their release dates. They pick a date and they stick to it. Again, with that one kind of exception that's not going to happen again. I totally think Zelda might change their release date here. I'm not going to confirm anything, obviously, but if one of those shifts, it's going to be Zelda. I remember when the Nintendo Alarmo came out and we were all like, they're doing anything but announcing the Switch 2. Yeah, no, basically. But hey, that's in the past now. Currently in the future, we are 4 days away from the Switch 2 event. That's... oh boy, am I excited. So the other bit of information we got from the Nintendo Today app is they show a picture of the Switch 2. So if you watch the Switch 2 reveal trailer, on the Switch's Joy-Cons, on the right Joy-Con, there is a button under the home button. But in the trailer, the button is blank. We know from leaks that it's a C button, but in the trailer, the button is blank. But on the promotional image for the Switch 2, it has the C button on it, and it shows a C and everything. So the C button is now confirmed by Nintendo. We don't know what it does. There's a lot of speculation that, hey, it's going to allow you to sync up a Switch 1 and a Switch 2, which, to be fair, I've been saying that for a while now, that you'll be able to sync up a Switch 1 and a Switch 2 to play DS games and the like. But we'll just kind of have to wait and see. Maybe it's a chat function, maybe it's casting. We'll just kind of have to wait. Damn Nintendo foreshadowing things. But yeah, it's... Yes, is this Nintendo Today going to be a flash in the pants? Sure. But for the moment, I'm going to try to have my fun with it. I used to love I think it was every Monday on the Nintendo News app, they would have like Nintendo News with Gary and Allison. I think it was Gary and Allison on the Nintendo Wii. And every Monday I would sit down and watch those Nintendo News things. Because, you know, this was before Nintendo Directs existed. This was like the easiest way to get Nintendo news. So, you know, if they're going to try to well, I don't think we're going to have like a new Kit and Krista show or something like that. If this is like Nintendo's attempt to like try to recreate some of that magic of Nintendo news from the Wii, I think it's possible. The last thing I'll say before we move on is I find it very interesting that Nintendo's all of a sudden got big into themes. The Nintendo Alarmo has a Mario theme, a Zelda theme, a Splatoon theme, a Pikmin theme. And now we have this Nintendo Today, and it has a Mario theme, a Zelda theme, a Splatoon theme, a Pikmin theme. I think it is very possible that the Switch 2 is going to finally have themes, and they're going to be a Mario theme, a Zelda theme, a Splatoon theme, a Pikmin theme. Nintendo keeps doing that in all of their products. So I think it is very possible that finally people are going to get what they want, and the Switch 2 is going to have themes. Once is an accident, twice is a coincidence. Next week, we find out, was this on purpose? Is this all intentional? And has Nintendo slowly been building up to themes? I'm calling it right now. That's my prediction. Okay, let's do some WIBE. Oh my god, my cough is killing me. I have been talking for way too long. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I got 2 food things tonight. We'll potentially talk about Daredevil, but I don't know if we'll get to it. Because the 2 episodes of Daredevil came out this week, and I only watched one of them, so I might not talk about Daredevil this week. And then finally, I might give some last-minute Switch 2 predictions. And maybe that's how we end off. So, let's start off with the food stuff. Sometimes I wanted to get the Switch's wallpaper from the home menu. Yeah, I think it's gonna happen. I do. So, for food, okay. I don't know how you feel about Pizza Hut. I'll be honest, I'm not a big Pizza Hut guy, but I do like their stuffed crust pizza. And so this week, Pizza Hut released a new pizza called the Cheesy Bites Pizza. And basically, it's a pizza, but instead of having like a stuffed crust, the crust is a bunch of like little pull-apart bites that you can pull off the pizza, and then it comes... see, I completely disagree. So it's little pieces of like little, like nuggets that you can pull off the pizza, and then it comes with what they call a ranch flight. You know, like a wine flight where it's like a bunch of different types of wine. Because that sounds awesome. Extra cheese is always good. Teach their own. So it comes with a ranch flight. So it comes with 3 different ranches. They have an ultimate ranch, a chipotle ranch, and a pepperoni ranch. So I did go and try this. I actually had to go to 2 different Pizza Huts to get this, because the first one I went to was sold out. So I guess this thing is pretty popular, because it only came out like 2 days ago and it was already sold out. But I went and got it. And so my thoughts on it, I'll be honest, I didn't actually think it was that great. I may like Pizza Hut's stuffed crust. It's their one thing I like from them. But I did not actually think this was that good. The pizza was just generic Pizza Hut pizza. You know, it's if you don't like Pizza Hut, you're not gonna like this. This isn't gonna change your mind. But the little bites, you know, yes, you could pull them off. You could have them after you eat your slice. But I think it's form factor wise, while it does make for easy dipping, it's just inferior to like a stuffed crust. Because I feel like their stuffed crust has like a good balance between bread and cheese. These are a little bit less balanced. So the pizza was kind of whatever. The ranch flight, on the other hand, I was actually kind of disappointed by. So you have 3 types of ranch. The ultimate ranch. I want to double check this. So I'm pretty sure the ultimate ranch is just ranch and blue cheese. Which I know for some people fucking hate blue cheese. I'm kind of indifferent to it. I do like ranch. I know some people are like sticklers, you know, they hate ranch, they hate mustard, they hate ketchup. I don't have enough hate in my life. You know, I've got hate. My hate goes to like Republicans. I don't have enough time to hate ranch. But they've got 3 new types of ranch, and the ultimate ranch tasted like ranch and blue cheese mixed together. And really, admittedly, I don't think I've ever had Pizza Hut ranch before. But yeah, according to this, ultimate ranch is just the creamy classic base model. So that, it might have just been normal ranch, but it kind of tasted like ranch and blue cheese mixed. So I didn't care for the ultimate ranch. The Chipotle ranch has a little bit of smoky heat to it. And yeah, I did kind of get that. It was okay. And then the pepperoni ranch. So it's ranch with pepperoni grease mixed in. Or maybe like pepperoni flavoring. I'm not entirely sure how they do it. And I know for some people that sounds awful. Pepperoni grease and ranch. And I'll be honest, this is not the first time I've heard of pepperoni ranch. I know there are some pizza places, specifically in upstate New York, that make a pizza like this with like a pepperoni infused ranch. And I'm kind of whatever on it. But this one, I definitely did taste the pepperoni. You can taste like the pepperoni grease, whether that's actual pepperoni grease or just artificial flavoring. It does kind of have that like orangish color that like grease has. I know for some people this sounds disgusting. And yeah, I'm not going to say I loved it. I'll be honest, I was not impressed with any of these. Because I will say, when it comes to dipping sauces, Pizza Hut's not actually that good. I don't think they're... If their ultimate ranch is just their normal ranch, I was not impressed. Their garlic butter sauce, also not that impressive. It's very runny and not that... And like Dion's does a way better garlic sauce. Even fucking Little Caesars does a better garlic sauce. But yeah, I was not too impressed with this Pizza Hut thing. Admittedly, Pizza Hut's, again, it's not as bad as like Papa John's. Like Papa John's fucking sucks. But this, I guess I was hoping for a little bit more, and I just kind of was disappointed. Now, next week, however, what's it called? Little Caesars is bringing back their pretzel pizza. If you've never had Little Caesars pretzel pizza, it's very salty. It is a very salty pizza. But if you can get past that, I think it is great. They use it's, of course, you know, it's a pizza. It's got a pretzel crust. And while they use normal cheese, they also kind of mix in some of that, like, nacho cheese you'd have on a pretzel. And I think it tastes great. I actually really like Little Caesars pretzel pizza. They're going to have a normal one and a stuffed crust one, which, you know, maybe I'll try that. But if you have never had Little Caesars pretzel pizza, give it a shot. It's very salty, but I do really like it. So next up, Taco Bell. Taco Bell added a few new menu items today. Most of them are like their Cantina chicken, like they have Cantina chicken nacho fries. Didn't try that, didn't care about that. But the thing they had that I was interested in is they brought back the toasted street chalupas, but this time, or they brought back the street chalupas, but this time they have a toasted cheddar shell. So I like the toasted cheddar chalupa. Admittedly, they haven't had it in a long time. been a few years. But the street Chalupa, I actually really enjoyed. When they had the street Chalupa last year, I know we talked about it on the previous show in chat. But I actually liked it, and so having it again this year, I was like, oh yeah, I'm excited for them to bring that back. I like the toasted cheddar chalupa, so I'm like, this sounds fantastic. I tried it. It was fine. It was fine. I probably maybe wanted like a little bit more steak in mine. But other than that, you know, I think I either like both. It's like less than the sum of its parts, or maybe I just didn't get the best one. But either way, it was okay. I'd probably get it if I go back to Taco Bell, because I didn't even go. My roommate went, and I was like, hey, can you pick me up one of these? But no, it was okay. I'd probably try it again. So, yeah. Toasted cheddar street chalupa. It was better than the Pizza Hut thing, I'll tell you that. If you have to choose, I know Pizza Hut and Taco Bell and KFC are all owned by the same people. As far as I know, they're still all owned by the same people. So if you're going to a combination Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, and you have to choose between either of these two things, go for the Taco Bell. I think the Taco Bell was better. Let's do some Switch 2 predictions. You know, before we end off here, let's do some. I'm gonna save Daredevil for next week. We're at the final boss, and well, I'm getting my ass kicked right now because I cannot figure out this timing. On this third phase, the timing is so tight. I just cannot get it. But I only have to get it 3 times. If I can figure it out 3 times, we win. Because so far, I think I've done 7 hits. I think I'm either at 7 or 8. I just need 2 more hits and we win. So I'm just gonna, you know, just in case, let's just do some Switch 2 predictions, and then then we'll call it there. So any last minute Switch 2 predictions? Admittedly, I've given all my Switch 2 predictions. I gave them all back in September. And most of those predictions have not changed. Like, I made a Nintendo Switch 2 prediction video on YouTube, and while some of that is definitely outdated, because, you know, they didn't reveal the console in October like I expected them to, some of that stuff isn't outdated, so let's just, you know, go forward with the assumption that, you know, I expect there to be a new Pokemon game, or a new Mario game. I do fully expect new Mario. I think that makes perfect sense to happen. Okay, we just need 1 more hit. Fuck, we're cutting this so close. I fully expect a new Mario. Obviously, Mario Kart 9. We gave my predictions for that. I gave my predictions for a new Mario. I either expect a new Zelda or remakes or a port. I don't know if there's a worst case scenario here. I would love to see an Ocarina of Time remake. If we get Twilight Princess and Wind Waker ports, I'm not going to be too beat up over it. But I think anything's possible there. Or if we get my idea we talked about at the beginning of the stream, I'd also be cool with that. I hope we get a new IP, whether it's that Caveman game that they did the playtest for last year, or it's something entirely new. Shit. Whether it's that Caveman game or something entirely new, I don't really care. God, this boss. We're so close. Do people like this boss? I honestly don't know. I cannot, for some reason, I remember people not liking this boss, but I cannot remember. So yeah, Switch 2. There was that Caveman game that was like, it was like a community, like a social thing. And if Nintendo, I could see Nintendo bringing that back. You know, people, I know it's still got some problems or whatever, like it had some weird moments. But you know, if that's Nintendo's new IP, you know, clearly, like, they're gonna apply a different coat of paint over it. But if that's Nintendo's new IP, I'm not gonna be too beat up over that. just being honest here. I'm not going to be too heartbroken by a new Nintendo IP. That you know, is like a game about like building blocks and making connections and whatnot. Nintendo. I know I want Nintendo's version of Dark Souls, but Nintendo's version of Minecraft doesn't sound awful. We know there's all those, you know, the Switch 2 is probably going to have a mouse feature. I know some people will want, you know, like a Mario Paint or something like that. And I'd be down for like a Mario Paint. I'd be fine with that. But I don't know if they're like actually going to do that. Like that would be a Mario Paint style game to show off the Switch 2 would be, you know, people would love that as like a pack-in game, but I could see Nintendo making Mario Paint 2 and charging $60 for it, or $40 or whatever. That's a very Nintendo move. I would love a new Mario Maker. I love the idea. I've seen a lot of people say like 3D Mario Maker, or if you've watched, if you've seen Amethyst, they have Amethyst from the Super Mario Odyssey modding community. They have like this whole system. I can't remember what it's called, but it allows you, it's like Moondrop or something like that, and it allows you to like basically create custom Mario Odyssey levels. It's really impressive actually, and I could see, you know, Nintendo making 3D Mario Maker that kind of works like that. That'd be really cool, and that'd be a good way to show off the mouse feature. But I'd rather have a new 3D Mario game over Mario Maker 2. Or Mario Maker 3D. I'd rather have a new, like, Odyssey 2 over Mario Maker 3D. I guess that's how I should put it. What was it called? It's not... Is it called Moondrop? What was it called? Moonflow. It's called Moonflow. I knew it had moon in the name. Go look that up on YouTube. YouTube at Amethyst SZS. Yeah, they've got some great stuff over there. If you ever watched one of Small Ants, or, you know, CJ Yaw, or Crafty Boss, or Grand Pooh Bear, if you ever watched any of their hide and seek videos, you should hopefully know who Amethyst is. What else? What else do I want? So Co-op 64 put out a video today where they gave their... It was lengthy, long shot, and likely, lengthy, and long shot. I mean, it was something like that. And for, I think it was Connor, his prediction was Splatoon 4. And I'm gonna be honest, I would be down for Splatoon 4. I really like Splatoon. You know, Splatoon 3 has gone through its full lifetime. If they make Splatoon 4, I'm down for Splatoon 4. However, I don't think we're getting Splatoon 4. Because you gotta remember, the same team that works on Splatoon does Animal Crossing. Admittedly, they could give Splatoon to a different dev team. Maybe even they've created a new dev team that just does Splatoon games. If they do that, I mean, I wouldn't be too brokenhearted over it. But with Animal Crossing New Horizons being the second best-selling Switch game of all time, with it capturing the moment the way it did, I think it is far more likely we get an Animal Crossing game. Does it come out this year? I have no idea. The part of me doesn't think so. I think they might hold that till next year. But like, if that's the one game, they're like, hey, here's all the games coming out this year, all like 5 of them, you know, 5 Switch 2 games, at least first party. And then here's the one game. And here's the one game, or 1 or 2 games that they're teasing for next year, and one of them's Animal Crossing. I'm not going to be too beat up over it, especially because, you know, we've got Metroid, we've got the other thing, and there we go, fucking finally. There we go. We beat the game. Yeah, we're going to get an Animal Crossing over a Splatoon. I admittedly do not remember any of their other predictions. But, you know, I'd love to see a revival of a classic series. Star Fox, Golden Sun, F-Zero. I think F-Zero is the most likely. It's been, you know, we got F-Zero 99. It seemed to have done decently well. I think that would just make sense. A new F-Zero would be cool. I know people want it. It's been over 20 years. So I saw someone made a video. Oh, Silk Song and Deltarune. I think either of those are totally possible, but you should not go in expecting them. Some people went into the Switch Direct from yesterday expecting those games. Those people are fools. Next week, however, you're less of a fool, but we'll see. But I could see Deltarune being a console exclusive on the Switch too. Console exclusive. It'll still be on PC, obviously. Same thing with Silk Song. I know everybody wants Silk Song, but if Nintendo got console exclusivity, that'd be fucking huge. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see. Anything else? I don't know. I'm sure there's other stuff. You know, it was... What else? Silk Song... I'm sure there's other shit that I can't think of. Elden Ring, I still think Elden Ring makes sense. Baldur's Gate 3, I think is all... I know some people will say that's impossible. They could barely getting it running on an Xbox Series S. But it's Nintendo. Anything's possible. I don't really have any other predictions. I mean, obviously, you know, we're gonna price, I'd say $400. Release date, I would have said... A lot of people were saying May 22nd, because that falls on like a Thursday or a Friday, and I think that would have made a lot of sense, but a lot of people are now saying June, and I think that's possible. It's going to be May or June. If it's any later than that, I'd be amazed. Especially because Nintendo's got no games coming out. Kirby, it's been a few years since the last Kirby. And while, you know, there was that Planet Robobot remake, and, you know, if the new Kirby game is a Planet Robobot remake, I'd be fine with that. But if it actually turns out that it's a Planet Robobot sequel, or Planet Robobot in 3D, oh, that'd be so fucking awesome. Having a 3D mech suit would be so fucking cool. But I'm not going to get my hopes up, but I do think it's been a while since the last Kirby game, so I think anything's possible. I do want to point out, here's an intro. Oh, I know one of Co-op 64's predictions was a new game by the Xenoblade devs, Monolith, and I think that's possible. I could whether it's, you know, supposedly it's going to be a new IP, that'd be cool. So in the Switch 2, the Switch 2 app, you can choose your favorite game series. And you can choose Mario, Zelda, Animal Crossing, Splatoon, Pikmin. Nintendo's Big Four plus Pikmin. You can choose Kirby, Fire Emblem, Metroid, Xenoblade, WarioWare, Donkey Kong, classic games. I think it's important to note what games they decided to let you choose from your favorites there. That makes me think that it's more likely we're going to get games from those series. Obviously, Mario Kart, Zelda, Animal Crossing, and Splatoon are Nintendo's Big Four. I don't think we're going to see anything from Pikmin, but I'd love it. But Kirby, Fire Emblem, we know about a Metroid, a Xenoblade, a new Wario, and a new Donkey Kong. Plus, classics would be GameCube/DS Virtual Console. I think that, maybe, I might be reading too much into it, but that could be a hint at what's coming. Just saying. Because why not put, like, everything in there? Or at least, you know, every game that's released on the Switch. Even ones that, you know, like Advanced Wars that aren't going to get an update anytime soon. Why specifically those games? I know because some of them have recent releases, but not all of them. I'm just saying. Alright, so it looks like that's where we're going to end off for the day. We'll be back next week for the Switch 2 Direct. The Switch 2 Direct is at like 6 a.m. in the morning, and we will be here live to watch the Switch 2 Direct. I'll be here, and then assuming it's like an hour long, the moment it ends, I have to rush off to work. Like I gotta be to work like the moment it ends. So that's gonna be a thing. But we should be able to watch the full Direct. We'll do it live, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. And then of course we'll be back next week. We'll be back with this show, episode 14. We'll talk about the Switch 2 Direct, and we'll be playing some Pokemon. I'm gonna tell you right now, we're gonna do some shiny hunting next week. So with that, I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Till next time, peace.